This video is sponsored by Aquashine Exteriors, professional jet washing and cleaning services across Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, including Dorset, Hampshire and Wiltshire. Are you feeling it's time to get that driveway nice and shiny for when you come home, or are you wanting to get that guttering tidied up and spotless again? They deliver this, plus much, much more. Please head into the description below where you'll find their details for their website, including the socials, Facebook and Instagram. You also need to find their before and after portfolio. You can also call them on 07503 998 088 for a free quotation. Don't wait till next week. Don't think you'll do it another day. Pick up the phone, give them a call, check them out. Good evening. Welcome to Cherries Red Army. We are live on YouTube for this watch along of West Ham United versus AFC Bournemouth in the Premier League. I've got Jon Spark next to me, a joint watch along, back-to-back watch alongs for you, John.
Yes, I'm hoping it'll be a bit less, I say a bit less uneventful, a bit less bad from Bournemouth this time round. It was 3 hours that rather dragged on last time round. I'm hoping it goes a bit quicker, but I've got company this time, Kirk, so it should be a little bit more pleasant, hopefully.
This will be fun. Make sure you get your hellos in the chat. Please do let us know who's currently joining us throughout the evening. Use that interactive chat. Tell us how you're feeling ahead of this fixture. If you're new to Cherries Red Army, please do subscribe. Also, give this video a like. We want to get at least a minimum of 50 likes this evening. And of course, if you weren't able to watch this live, but you watched it back, thank you very much. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We've got lots to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about both teams. We're going to preview, but we are going to jump straight into those lineups that are already out. So we'll get your hellos on the screen in a moment. But John, let's have a brief thought from you on those lineups. Fabianski, Johnson, Kaye, Suma, Cresswell, Rice captain, Soucek, Bowen, Downs, Benrahma and Scamacca for West Ham. And for Bournemouth, I don't need to go through it all. It's unchanged. But the bigger question is how we're going to set up.
Yeah, so in terms of West Ham, if I've got to be honest, West Ham are probably the team that I have watched least of so far this season. But if they're anything like they were last season, which I expect them to be, they'll still be in their typical 4-2-3-1. Scamacca is going to be a very, very interesting one. I haven't actually seen him for any extended period yet, watching him live. So I'm interested to see what he puts out. Downs was obviously someone we came up against at Swansea last season, and Bowen and Benrahma are definitely threats out wide. As for Bournemouth, the question isn't who plays. The question is where they play. Because as we've discussed, I think the flatness in the stadium against Southampton was partly brought on by people looking at Fredericks at left wing back and Tavernier at right wing back and taking about 10 minutes for them to actually comprehend what the hell O'Neill was doing. And it turned out within those 10 minutes, we went 1-0 down. So it really was, for my money, something of a disaster from O'Neill. He can claim that the stats were great and they did look good, but that's because Southampton just stood off us and let us play what we liked and we couldn't get through them. So I'm hoping us to revert back to our standard 4-2-3-1 of this season, billing close to Solanke and Fredericks back on the right, Smith at left back. Unfortunately, Zamora not back in yet, which I'm disappointed at, really disappointed at. But yeah, I'm just hoping we go back to our game rather than trying to be too fancy about it.
Let's get your hellos on the screen then before we continue this preview ahead of this fixture. Kickoff 8 o'clock. We've got AFCB Fan TV. Aidan Bashford, how are you? AFC Bournemouth Germany joined you on your watch along for Southampton.
He did indeed.
He's here again. Mark Collins, how are you? Come on, you Reds. Mark Singleton, unchanged. Good evening to the Cherries. Cameron Meach, how are you? We've also got Paul Fulton. Hi, guys. Let's hope we have a day. This, for me, is a big, big game. Got Mark Cole and Dan Chase. Hi, Kirk. Hi, John. Look, we're going to talk about both teams. We're going to look at both teams' previous results, which was a loss in the Premier League. And this is your preview ahead of this kickoff in this fixture.
Cheeky one, square, and
Premier League table, as you see it, Bournemouth are 13th with 13 points, and West Ham are just outside the relegation zone with 11 points and 11 games played in 17th. And let's focus on the Cherries initially, John. It was a 1-0 loss to Southampton. It was a confusing formation. Took 15 minutes for us to turn it around in regards to sorting the team out. But at that point, we were 1-0 down, and Southampton had something to hold on to, which they did.
Yeah, it was very frustrating. Obviously, there were, being on the watch alongs, trying to sort out comments and whatnot myself. I wasn't able to focus as much as I would have liked on parts of the game. But for the most part, I was just so stuck on the formation and so stuck on how we just didn't seem to settle at all into our game for at least the first half. But in terms of possession, if you look at, Sofa scores, they have their charts about sort of who's in control of games, and Bournemouth looked, we had large peaks for most of the match, but we just weren't able to really create very many good chances. There was a very good Senesi chance from a corner that he didn't put away, where he had a completely free header just outside the 6-yard box, I think it was, and a couple of other chances, nothing too major, and Southampton were happy to just sit in. And we've spent a lot of time talking about Bournemouth, but Southampton did admittedly defend rather well. I don't think we did enough to really challenge them, but we can do so much better than we did than when we played against Southampton, and that's probably what I think most fans are probably so frustrated about, that we didn't help ourselves with the Gary O'Neill, and then after that we just didn't get to where we know we can do.
We've also got Wayne Walden joining us. He is a Fulham fan. He does like to come in on our Bournemouth videos. He's respectful, and I'm sure he enjoyed his team's performance at the weekend. We've also got Luke Andrews joining us. How are you doing? And in that result of that 1-0 against Southampton, which we were favourites going into, there's not going to be many fixtures that we're going to go in as favourites to win this game, but not enough quality in the final third. And behind that is Ryan Christie, who's never really been full of quality in his time at Bournemouth. But 2.5 million, I think I can understand. I give him a little bit more, freedom. When you bring in someone at 10 to 12 million, and I've said to you a few weeks ago, John, that there's only so much time I'm going to give Marcus Tavernier and freedom to work, praise him on work rate. At some point, he's got to start delivering numbers. And when we're talking about numbers, we're talking about assists and goals. And that's not been great of late. And he can't even cross a decent ball half the time. And that's got to improve very, very soon, because he can dribble well. His numbers for dribbling are good. But if we're going to stay up, we're going to need these type of players to add some numbers to help us survive.
Yeah, that is the frustrating thing in terms of Ryan Christie has got 1 goal and nothing else. Marcus Tavernier's got no goals, no assists. They both have made a few chances. Tavernier's better at making chances than Christie is, as I looked into on my Sparky Stats video a little while back. But yeah, you need every part of your attack to provide something if you're going to stay up. And at the moment, there was some of the stats that were just being shown up on Sky Sports Monday Night Football. There, it was that Bournemouth still have the worst expected goals scored in the division, even though we're well past the 3 terrible games that we played under Parker against the big sides. Since then, we've just done enough to make our chances count. We haven't ever really created a huge amount of chances. Our XG against Fulham, I think, was just over 1, but it was less than Fulham's. Our XG against Southampton was just over 1, but it was less than Southampton's. I don't think we've got above 1 point. We've got above 1 a few times now, but it's not been above 1.2, 1.3. We need to make more chances. There's only so many scraps that Solanke and Billing, fair enough, who's our top scorer still, can feed off. We have to create more, and that comes from out wide more often than not. While there is a good combination that happens between Solanke and Billing, you look at the 2 goals against Fulham, that's Tavernier pushing forward. Billing goes to Solanke, nice 1-2, and he scores. The second goal against Fulham, that's Solanke picking it up out wide, plays it in, comes inside. We make so many of our chances from wide. And that's what Christie and Tavernier need to be making chances from. But more often than not, it's Solanke picking up there, and he's creating the chances. So we need a lot more from those two.
I know Gary O'Neill spoke about focusing on the opposition. I think we knew that. He's confirmed it in his post-match comments, his press conferences as well. I think he actually focuses on the opposition completely. And I think at home, I want to see a little bit more of us being on the front foot and trying to hurt football teams. In the conversation here, John, Mark Collins is talking about no Stanislas tonight, no Kiefer Moore. I'm not for not having these types of players in the game, but Kiefer Moore should have come on a lot earlier. You're chasing the game, you're trying to score goals. If you're trying to put balls in the box, okay, the quality wasn't there, but you need someone in there that can attack them. But when you're talking about Stanislas, when you're talking about Rothwell, these are guys that have had no minutes. Dembele, I've been calling for some of these players for weeks, but not in this fixture. No. Maybe when it's 2-2 and you're trying to relieve pressure at Fulham and you want to get up the pitch. Not when you're chasing a game. We should have been seeing Jadon Anthony and Jordan Zamora. That's also confusing. Not just that formation from the start of the game.
Yeah, and I think Mark was saying that he would like to see Kiefer Moore coming on a little bit more. And I think in that game I think everyone in the ground was calling for Kiefer Moore to come on. But here's the one of the things that, because I totally agree with you. I think 3 of the 4 substitutes that he brought on, Stanislas, Rothwell, and Dembele, hadn't played a single minute. No. And the only other one he brought on was Kiefer Moore. But then you bring on Kiefer Moore. What does he do? He plays Tavernier on the right and he plays Dembele on the left.
Yeah.
So he plays a right winger on the left, a right foot on the left and a left foot on the right, which means the crosses are more difficult, which means it's not like you're less likely to put the cross in once you put Kiefer Moore on.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the setup. You've reminded me that it was the substitutions as well that made me go, Gary O'Neill, what are you on?
But if a positive comes out of it in his early career, that was a learning curve. And when we're talking about trying to bounce back this evening, I'm hoping he watched that back, because they do. They definitely watch it back. And I'm hoping he understands that that was a learning curve and a mistake.
Yeah, I think we can only hope that he doesn't make the same. As we've said, the thing is, at the moment, lineups are the same.
Yeah,
but we don't know what the formation is.
No.
And I think what I would say is that even if he played a back 5 here, which I think is not necessarily the right choice, because it leaves us going a bit 1v1 against this team who will have their fullbacks push up quite a lot, and we'll end up with our wing backs on their fullbacks, and we'll end up with their inside forwards on our left and right centre mid. And I don't like Bowen against Smith. I don't really like that matchup. And then you'll have Skamaka on Senesi in the middle. Depending on how they set up, they might put Senesi on the left and Mepham in the middle. Regardless, I don't like that 1-for-1 matchup necessarily against a very powerful, very strong West Ham side. I would prefer if you played a back 4. But again, until we see them actually line up, we're not going to have a clue. So it was bad enough before when he was making changes every week to go up against the opponent. It's even worse when he's not changing the lineup. You don't know what the formation is.
It's going to be an interesting night. Let's see what happens at 1 minute past 8, shall we say. Now, our opposition, who you've just touched upon there, was West Ham. Now, they lost their last fixture against Liverpool. If you saw the highlights in that game, they probably deserved more. They had some poor finishing, a missed penalty. Don't know if they had some VAR injustice as well, because I was on a West Ham podcast and they said they've not had much luck, but they did get the penalty. But the likes of Bowen are not hitting the ground running like he did last season. He had some 10 goals, 10 assists in those numbers. He's only at 1 goal, and going into a World Cup and trying to get in the England team. This is not helping his cause. I'm just hoping, John, that they don't start to turn up tonight. But they did lose at Anfield 1-0. We've all lost at Anfield. But any thoughts on that loss for them?
Well, it's very typical of fans to think that as soon as your opponents aren't turning up with form, that means they're destined to beat you. Annoyingly enough, a lot of us were thinking that against Southampton, and it turned out that it was actually true in the end, although we didn't help ourselves, as we've just nattered on about for the last 10 minutes. But yeah, like I said, I haven't seen much of West Ham. I can only sort of assume that they're playing very similar to what they played last year, because last year was so successful for them. Why would they change it? I just think that it seems to be that they've brought in quite a few new players, and that's going to take a little while to settle. I think that Kaye was a really good pickup from Paris Saint-Germain, but from what I gather, it's not been a great start from him. I do think they've had a few injuries. I believe that Souček is a player that a lot of West Ham fans are going, where did he go? Because he's not quite the same player as he was. I believe they were linked with Onana, who went to Everton, and he's been incredible. So I think if they picked him up, I think they would have had a very different start to the season. But yeah, one of the most interesting stats is they're on the 4th best expected goals against this season.
Right.
Which means them being in 17th is a pretty darn false position. I think if their defense is up there as Champions League level defense, and yet they're 17th, you can clearly tell where their problem is. They're not scoring enough goals, and they're not necessarily keeping out what they should be keeping out. And that possibly down to the keeper, possibly down to a mixed defense. I don't know. I think it tells you a lot when a team is that far down, but they have an underlying stat that looks that good. So I do think that it's going to be a very difficult game, because regardless of what kind of form they're in, you know the kind of players they've got. Ben Rama is a very silky, available, and very good player on the ball. You've got Downs is an interesting one. I didn't expect to see him come in and from the Championship. He's obviously doing relatively well. I think he's pulled off some really good performances recently, which is why he's starting. Bowen obviously can do something great, but he's not been great this year. And Skamaka is a very highly rated striker coming from. Yeah, he'll grow into the team. So I think
he's like our Senesi. You know, I mean, it took Senesi to settle, and it looks like Skamaka's settling now, but hopefully not settling too well.
Yeah, Senesi hasn't scored yet, though.
No,
that's the problem. He should have scored against Southampton. Yeah, I know it'll be interesting to see, because I think they're a team that can do a lot more than what they are doing at the moment, without a doubt. And we're going to find it very difficult, because I mean, regardless of whether Souček isn't playing very well or not, Declan Rice is one of the best midfielders in the league. There's no arguments there, and he might not be much of a goal scorer, but he's incredibly strong, very good on the ball, and just covers every blade of grass. And our midfield is he's going to have to really pull up some trees to be able to deal with that with them. I mean, Billing isn't great at using his body at the best of times. Souček and Rice could well just stomp all over him in this game. That's one of the things I'm a little bit worried about. So I'm hoping that he sort of has put a bit of bulk on in the last few days.
Do get your thoughts ahead of kickoff. Any questions you want to talk about? Like, I've seen a comment from Paul in there about Jay-Z and Anthony. We'll come back to that in a moment. We are just focusing for the moment on West Ham. This week, I did catch up with Hammer's chat, and I did an opposition view from a Bournemouth perspective, but they also did their own preview. And this is their thoughts for 2 minutes and their score predictions from a West Ham point of view. I'll tell you now, they're feeling very confident.
Done damn well in the last 2 seasons in terms of points tally, and we've done it by usually winning our bread and butter games, which is Monday night against Bournemouth at home against a promoted side in the Premier League. It's a must win every single season. It doesn't matter if you want to finish 17th and avoid relegation because you're crap, or if you want to get into European football, home against a promoted side is a must win every single season. So there's pressure on us, because if we don't win this one, suddenly we're going back down that table with a trip to Old Trafford coming up as well. It's not ideal, but we do win this one. We leapfrog Bournemouth. I know it's nothing to write home about per se, but suddenly, I don't know, we might make into the top half of the table at the end of the fixtures and stuff. And we just keep moving in the right direction a little bit. We've hit a bump in the road, or you could say 2, with the Southampton result and the Liverpool result. It's important we get back to winning ways on Monday. Otherwise, it's just not going to be a fun environment. I've enjoyed seeing us win. I've enjoyed winning 4 games out of 4. I want to get back to that, and it needs to start on Monday night. However, I'm relatively confident. Can I get any final words from yourself, please, as well, as your all-important score prediction?
Well, mate, nothing says, you said bread and butter, nothing says bread and butter like a Monday night game against Bournemouth. That being said, that slice of bread and butter, if you buy it at the London Stadium, will probably cost you a tenner. I think it's important. I think Dawson coming back is important, particularly his aerial prowess in particular, I think is important in both boxes. In fact, you may say that Bournemouth have lost their cardigan, but we have to have our jumper.
Oh, dear God. Can I get your score prediction, please?
I want to carry on saying more stuff. No, my score prediction would be 2-0 to West Ham.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2-0 West Ham as well, actually. At the end of the day, to keep it really simple, if we turn up and we play 10 out of 10 and the tactics are right, we win the game.
So that was a clip from the Hammers chat, their perspective, and they've gone for a West Ham 2, Bournemouth 0. Very, 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 very confident. Absolutely. Connor, no soccer. West Ham home form has been meh this season, although they are unbeaten in the last 3. Their form's been a bit of a mixed bag, and that's why they're 17th. But they do seem to be finding a little bit of form at home lately.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a kid around, but it's totally fair of that opinion, to be honest. I think it generally, when we were 8th, was our highest position at one point? 8th.
We did get to 8th, yeah.
The amount of tweets out that were like, can I just shock you a second? Bournemouth are 8th.
And higher than Liverpool.
Yeah, we were higher than Liverpool. That was the thing that went around. After losing 9-0, they were 9th, we were 8th. Yeah. And it was just like, what is happening? It's like, well, if you'd actually paid attention to us, you might have seen that we're doing all right. However, as I mentioned, the underlying stats on our XG going forward isn't good at all. We have been pretty darn clinical. And that's how we've been getting our points. And West Ham have got a very good defense, and so you're putting, admittedly goals wise, we're not the worst team in the division because Wolves are right down there, scored 4, something stupid like that. But we haven't scored a lot. Our underlying numbers don't look great, and theirs look fantastic. So. This is one of the fan bases, I think, at home, even if they're not in great form, they are fully within their right to expect a clean sheet from this game. And we know how tough this is going to be, particularly coming off the back of that Southampton game where we really don't know what's going to happen. So, even if they've been a little bit inconsistent, they started badly. Yeah. Took them a while to get their wins, but they started to put them together now. They were in as much as you've got to include Europe in that. I know they went 6 unbeaten for a little while. So yeah, they are looking much better, taking a bit of a while to get forward, to get going rather, and you certainly don't expect them to be even in the bottom half for very much longer this season. So if we get a point out of this game, I think every Bournemouth fan will be delighted at that, regardless of how the game goes. You can't be disappointed if you get a point away from home in any Premier League game.
Well, we're going to ask your score predictions closer to kick-off when it's about 5 minutes before that whistle starts, and we'll get your score predictions later on. Final sort of moment that I want to talk about West Ham. I am looking at the squad, and I am actually happy to see someone like Antonio on the bench, because when we do look at our defence that struggled at times, it struggled through being outpowered by players that are not even of the stature of Antonio. I talk about Gabriel Jesus, out-muscling Senesi, and we've seen that a few times. And maybe that is something we've got to learn and maybe get back in the gym and maybe make some of our players a little bit stronger in some moments. But Antonio's a handful. As good as Skamaka might be, he's cost him a lot of money. I think Antonio, he just bulldozes his way through football teams, and he's a handful.
Yeah, he dribbles through players rather than around them. Yeah. Really, just knocks it forward and then budges them out of the way and just goes past. I see exactly where you're coming from. I do think that the Senesi example, while granted, I would say that I can't think of any time that Mepham has suffered that this season. And I do think that you look at that game against Arsenal for Senesi, and that was his first start. And I would be amazed, if you ignore Haller, who was at Ajax at the time and obviously now at Dortmund and recovering from cancer. He's recovering from cancer. So,
fair enough.
But he's probably the only striker in the Dutch league last season where Senesi was that you could imagine was as big, as strong as the likes of, because Jesus is, sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of sneakily strong. You don't quite expect it from someone his size, but he's a bit of a beast. Yeah. And he got completely outdone on that one header that one high ball that he just didn't know what he was coming up against. Whereas now he's actually got quite a few games under his belt. I reckon he can deal a little bit better than that. And I think he knows he can be more aggressive than he used to be. So I see where you're coming from, but I think that Bournemouth have done best defensively when they have dropped deep. and just let opponents try to come onto them. You think of Newcastle, where we were very unfortunate to concede even the 1 goal in that game. Even look at Man City, how deep we were in that game. It was an incredible bit of play that got them the first goal, and then we lost the other 3 because we were caught on the counter-attack.
That's one of the moments that I look at Mepham and think that was probably one of his poorest moments, although I'm not going to criticise him for it, but he did ball watch.
It was a little bit, but it was the midfielder that was
Yeah.
coming through, so maybe he wasn't quite expecting it, and he was. You're absolutely right, he was ball watching for that goal, but I don't begrudge him that one at all, because it's one of the few moments you can look at and say that he was poor,
Every
and that
team
was
gets
a bit
absolutely
harsh.
nailed by Man City.
Exactly. So, and Liverpool was a different story, and obviously we're looking at a different manager as well. So, West Ham have definitely got the tools to hurt us without a doubt. But I expect us to sit quite deep, encourage them to come onto us, and do our best to try and catch them on the counter. And the important thing about that, probably the most important bit about that, is going to be Billing and Solanke countering well, along with Tavernier, who's got the real pace in amongst that midfield to really push on and support an attack and just take the ball forward.
Yeah.
And I reckon he could probably outpace Cresswell on that right-hand side, which is going to be an important thing if he can get the better of him. Unfortunately, Cresswell and Johnson are going to push really far forward, so Christie and Tavernier are going to come really deep to defend. So it's going to be. I expect us to have to sit deep and just try and grab something on the counter. That's what I think will happen.
Thanks for joining us. We are getting closer to kickoff. We are just over 15 minutes away in this watch along. Please do subscribe if you're new to Cherries Red Army. We're going to get back on talking about Bournemouth in just a moment. Also hit the like button. I think we've gone past 20 already. We're looking for a minimum of 50 this evening. Just to let you know that we want to thank our monthly members who contribute towards the channel massively to enable us to do these type of videos. You can become a member or donate at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. Details are in the description below. I want to go back and start talking about Bournemouth then as we lead up to kickoff, John. And we have to return to talking about Jordan Zamora and Jayden Anthony. And Paul says, what has happened to the magic on the left? The problem is, Paul, is there's no opportunity to create magic on the left because we're setting up in a way, playing right-footed fullbacks on the left that are not going to be that proactive, are they, John? And I'm looking at Zamora thinking, when he came out the side, I actually think he got man of the match performance, which was a bit weird. I might be wrong, but he had a very good performance. Then he was pulled out the side because I think Smith was put into man mark Maddison. And then we haven't seen him since, really. I think he came on against Fulham late on. But he should have definitely started for me against Southampton because I want to get our fullbacks up the pitch. I want to get overlaps. I want to create pressure, especially at home. And they didn't come on again. And Jayden Anthony, someone who's had an influential part this season already, scoring the winner at Nottingham Forest. I'm not sure Jayden Anthony's the complete player yet, elite level, but he's definitely going to add value to this team. But it's very strange that these two players who have had an impact already this season, seemingly out of contention at the moment.
Well, Jayden Anthony in particular, I think, has barely got any action at all. He although he did obviously come on and secure us the win against Forest, and where was it? He scored. Was it Leicester that he put the ball in the back of the net, but it was offside.
Yeah,
it was an
that's
offside
right.
one, and he said he learned that he needs to make sure he checks the lino before celebrating next time around. Jayden Anthony, I think, was always going to find minutes a bit harder to come by this season. As soon as Tavernier was signed, you were like, okay, well, is he going to come in for Christie or Anthony? And you knew the answer to that question before we really got going, even though Anthony had better stats than Christie in terms of goals and assists last season. And I do think that, one of the main reasons we really got that unbeaten run going at all at the start of last season was because of the triumvirate of Anthony, Zamora, and Billing. That was our only attacking verve at all, was down the left-hand side. Pretty much the entire season, to be honest. That was where we were getting all our joy from. So I do think that I would rather have seen that be given a chance. Obviously, Parker wanted to completely change the formation, but then when O'Neill comes in and he switches back to a back four and Zamora's playing, you're thinking, okay, well, at least, Anthony might come on and he might have an opportunity, but they've got no reason to drop him. No. And then I don't know whether he got man of the match against. Did he get man of the match against?
He had a very
Brentford?
good performance.
He did have a very good. He was unlucky to not get a penalty in that game as well, because obviously he was the one that got in the box and was fouled was tackled officially. He was tackled, not fouled, just inside the box. But I totally understood him coming out in the Leicester game, because I think that setting up a man marking job for Smith to do on Maddison, although I don't think it was quite as tight a man marking job as I think it could have been, but you certainly saw him drop deep quite often to deal with him. I understood that, and I understand that when you've won, you're maybe a little bit less reluctant to change things. But at the same time, Zamora, when you know, they've got analysts there. They've got the people that look at the underlying numbers. They look at the distance run, the chances created, the XG, the expected goals against, expected assists. And Zamora has been one of our most promising players all season.
Yeah.
So for him to get dropped purely for tactical reasons, not because of his performance, purely for tactical reasons, and then for us because we won that game against Leicester, he isn't brought back in. I think is really, really strange. I think, especially with O'Neill's comments in the build-up to Southampton, he was spoken about, I think it was a build-up to Southampton, build-up to a recent game where they were asking, like, Rothwell's back, you've got Stanislas back, you've got Dembele available. And it's like, do you see these players having much of an impact? And he said, well, I don't really see a starting 11. I just see us having a number of available players. Yeah. He hasn't changed the actual starting 11 for 3 matches. Like, clearly you've got an idea of who your starting 11 is every game, because if you had a group of players you were willing to move around a bit, you would have changed things. We all thought Fredericks, asking him to play 3 games in a row, now 4 games in a row, just coming back from injury, clearly injury-prone player. You just put Smith back to right back, put Zamora at left back, and you've got the not much attacking that we're doing down the right-hand side. You switch that, and you get a much better attacking left-hand side. Yeah. So it's still very confusing for me that Zamora's not involved in the game at all. Very, very confusing.
Well, we don't know what happens during the week on the training ground. There could be something more deeper, but it is very weird. And Zamora should really have come into this side, and Anthony could have seen some time as well. I haven't actually looked at the subs bench yet, Mark Singleton, but you've just said to me, no Dembele tonight, Pearson back in the squad. And you would think that that's an option, that if we're winning the game or drawing the game, it's an extra negative or defensive player to bring on the pitch. But again, it's a weird use of Dembele there. Bring him on in a game the other day that was not the right fit, the right time to bring him on for his first minutes. And then he's not even in the squad tonight. So very strange, because I think I read that Dembele was buzzing about getting his first minutes in the Premier League. AFC Bournemouth Germany has also said, I'll put a £5 bet for Travers to come off the bench and score in the 90th minute. Wouldn't that be nice? Those odds must be very, very good. Let's speak about something else that hasn't gone our way so far in the Premier League. Look, we're still 13th, but VAR, we can't get away from it. And apparently it evens itself out, John. I'm not seeing it. I know myself, you, and some of the other guys where we have like a group chat have had, discussions about VAR, and, when you look deeper, maybe some of the decisions shouldn't have gone our way, or should have gone our way. But again, I look at the Southampton one. I was in the North Stand. I watched it live. It felt like a pen. Then the next night, you look at Fulham. There's a similar scenario, and it is a pen. We're definitely not getting the rub of the green. I don't mind losing football matches, but when VAR gets involved or doesn't help us where it should help us, it is annoying.
Yeah, definitely. Just for AFC Bournemouth Germany, I think the betting markets are a bit different in his, because I doubt you'd be able to put that bet on if I've over here. But the Euros maybe makes a difference. Yeah, VAR. It's an interesting one. I'll come on to that point in a second, actually, from Luke. I think that VAR is just very frustrating at the moment with its inconsistency. And I mean, you only got to look at, I'd imagine there's quite a lot of Bournemouth fans that watched the Newcastle game last night because of Eddie Howe, and we all still absolutely love him. There was a handball decision that wasn't given in that game that was absolutely absurd. And when you look at the fact that you've got a player whose arm is right out, where it's headed back, and there's about a second between the ball, maybe just under a second between the ball being headed back and it hitting his arm, and he's running towards the ball, and he puts his arm out and it hits his arm definitely past the t-shirt mark line, which is what they've nattered on about all season. And that is far more of a penalty than the Lerma one in first case, and arguably the Kelly one, which I think the Kelly one was more of a penalty than the Lerma one, but I think the Lerma one was very harsh. There's no Consistency.
Does it play a part where the incident is happening? Because if you go back to the week before, Newcastle felt very hard done by with the decision, I think, against Crystal Palace. And then obviously the week after we played them and they got a soft penalty. Are referees thinking about this? Because surely they're reviewing VAR and having discussions and they're having performance reviews.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I do. And it won't be too long before, obviously, the head of the PGMOL changes from whoever the hell it is at the moment
Howard Webb coming in.
to Howard Webb coming in, who is, I don't think there's any doubts, has been one of the best refs in England for a number of for a few generations. As much as obviously there'll be a number of fans that disagree with that statement, I think objectively he's, he refereed the World Cup final in a year. That means he was the best referee in the world at that moment. So you certainly want him to be involved. And look, we could talk about VAR for another 2 hours. I would say that I think that once the World Cup has happened and the World Cup has the automated offside calls that come in, you'll have goal line technology and you'll have these automated offside calls. And after that, you could theoretically remove VAR. Because if you're going to make a decision on a subjective act anyway, you might as well stick to the one that the referee makes on the pitch. Now, when things are blindingly obviously wrong, then great, have it involved. But the problem is that everything is checked, every small thing. There was Tottenham Hotspur's goal, Harry Kane's goal against Newcastle. Did you watch the game?
No.
Okay. Harry Kane's goal comes from a corner which is flicked on at the front post, and Kane is against Trippier at the back post. Comfortable goal. He outmuscles him, headers it at shin height, and headers it, just taps it into the back post. It takes them 2 minutes to check to see if there is the slightest flick off Davinson Sanchez as the ball is coming across from the front post to the back post. So in the middle, in between the two, they think maybe it might have just barely flicked off a Tottenham player, which would have turned the goal into an offside, which would have made the goal offside. Why are you checking that? Like, what on earth are you doing? No one's claimed for it. It doesn't make a difference if it comes off him or not. You've just wasted our time. Just get on with refereeing the game. It's so frustrating.
If it's done anything, it's created more shows for Sky Sports the next day on a Monday with ex-referees. We could go on about it forever, but I do agree that I think it's too subjective. That I don't think that was the purpose of VAR. But we are very close to kickoff. So I tell you what, you'll see the banner at the bottom of the screen, and it's time for your score predictions in the chat, whether you're a Bournemouth fan or a West Ham fan. Do let us know how you're feeling ahead of kickoff. Now, John, I'm going to get your score prediction in a moment, but we can also look ahead to a mixed bag of head-to-heads at West Ham. A couple of games, maybe one game at the Boleyn, Upton Park, and then obviously the rest of the fixtures previously at the London Stadium, John. Love this kit, by the way. One of my favourite kits as Bournemouth. This was a goal that Mark Pugh scored. And when you look at those head-to-heads, it was a win back in 15-16, a loss in 16-17, a draw 17-18, a win in 18-19, and that terrible loss 19-20. The theme there tonight is surely a draw.
Well, I mean, you're missing the 5-2 win in the Betway Cup, which was Anthony scoring that belter of a fifth goal, and a very good performance when we were all sort of wondering what Parker was going to was that Parker or was that Tyndall? No, it was Tyndall. It was setting us up in a back three at the time,
and we had Mark Pugh playing in that Betway Cup.
Yes, we did. I mean, Jordan Archer was our goalkeeper on trial at the time. But it's interesting. Look, Sky have got us set up in that 3-4-3 with Fredericks and Tavernier on the wrong side. Again, that was so bad. What were we going? Oh yes, draw would be fantastic. That's basically all I've really got to say. That draw would be absolutely brilliant. That's interesting. 4-4-2 they've set in West Ham with Flynn Downs. I thought Flynn Downs played down the middle. I don't know why I thought he was number 10.
Well, I'm going to go
plays
for
off the right hand side. Anyway.
Lots of 1-1s coming in at the moment. If you want to put your score prediction in the chat ahead of this watch along, Cameron's gone for a 1-1. I've gone for a 1-1. Mark Cole's gone for a 1-1. AFC Bournemouth Germany's gone for a 1-1. On Some Wave wants to know why a draw, because the theme in this fixture at West Ham leads towards a draw. But let's hope it's a good draw.
Well, if we want to go with patterns like that, we're all superstitious bastards, aren't we? Yeah, I mean, we're all predicting a draw on some way because we all want a draw. We desperately want a point because we don't think we've got much of a chance to win. But we said that when our first game against Aston Villa. We said that when we went to Newcastle. We got that draw nicely. When we went to Forest, I think probably a lot of us were hoping for a win, but at half time we were all desperate for a point. It's. I personally can't. I can't see us playing well and West Ham playing well and us getting anything better than a point. If West Ham are on their game, I think we'll find it very tough. But that doesn't mean that we can't produce something. We came up last time out when we hadn't won a game.
Yeah.
And we went to West Ham and we won 4-3.
But we were more positive and more brave, and
that was an Eddie Howe side.
Yeah,
yes,
so that's what we've got to
there's
see
the difference.
The players are on the pitch, by the way. They're out the tunnel. Bournemouth are in that gorgeous. Is it purple? This one. They're in this one.
Purple. Yeah, definitely purple.
Teams are lineups being shown on Sky Sports. Thank you for joining us on YouTube, though. Do stay with us this evening. Get your thoughts. Let us know how you're feeling if you're watching the game or you're just watching us. Have us in the background if you need to. And let's quickly just show you those lineups again as we head to the SofaScore app. And as you'll see, us as a back three with Marcus Tavernier and Ryan Fredericks copying what Sky Sports have done with the players on the wrong sides in theory. This would be very strange, John. If we actually do this, I'm not sure what I'm going to do in the first 10 minutes because if we concede, we're going round in circles and kicking a can down the road.
We might storm off.
We might. Well, we won't. We'll stay with you.
Yeah. I hope it's not that because, but to be fair, sites like Sky Sports are basically going off what they think it might be. So I'm pretty confident it won't be that. But if it is, then oh boy. There was a question before that I wanted to come back to about whether O'Neill rates Jay-Z as a defender. Luke was it Luke? A bit further up.
He did say that Howard Webb was one of the best.
Yes, exactly.
But it is higher up. But yeah, he did say
yes.
It must be because Gary O'Neill doesn't rate Jay-Z's defender.
If you want to type in there, go on to FB Ref.
All right. I'll let you crack on.
You've changed the tab.
Dom Solanke has scored 2 goals and 3 assists. They are showing his stats on the screen as the players get ready for kickoff, as John is looking for a stat to show you about Jordan Zamora, Luke. And this is a big game for Bournemouth. It's a big game for Gary O'Neill. He's looking to bounce back and we're looking to bounce back because every point in this division for us is a massive, massive point. Gary O'Neill currently shaking hands with Kevin Nolan from the opposite position.
They play together, of course.
And David Moyes, I don't think David Moyes has got the full backing yet of the fans this season. He's done well to keep getting back on track, get them into Europe, but I've read a few bits about West Ham and it's a bit 50-50 at the moment with the way that West Ham are performing under David Moyes. And John is going to try and show you something.
How am I getting this?
Share screen.
Yeah, there we go.
He's going to show you the FB ref for John Zamora.
Ads, great. The one thing I would say about whether, and admittedly I haven't looked at this for a couple of days, but the one thing I would say is the stats about defending. What's this? There we go. Block shots, certainly you've got 16, which is nice and high. Pass interceptions, number of times blocking a pass. So he's blocked passes decently. Like his numbers are pretty decent in terms of blocks, but I would more look at Adam Smith here. I'll get rid of that. He's the worst player we've got in our team for blocking dribblers. 26 times a player has dribbled past him, which is, I mean, yes, obviously he's played every game, so that sort of on average is a bit more. And then you look at Zamora's actually played only 6.4 games in total in terms of his minutes. But Zamora's numbers are pretty good defensively. I think people have sort of clawed onto him maybe not being as good as other players. But the other thing in terms of here is FBref does also, once you played a certain number of minutes, they'll bring forward a scouting report. And this compares players in the top 5 leagues within Europe. And you look on average, offensively, he's in the top 23% of shot creating actions for a fullback. There's blocks, he's in the top 11% in Europe's top 5 leagues. His interceptions are decent. His tackle numbers aren't amazing, but they're certainly not in the red. He is not disgracing himself whatsoever this season. Whereas if we look at Adam Smith, I haven't actually looked at these numbers, so this will be interesting for me. What is he doing? Okay, his clearances are fantastic, and his pressures are better than Zamora. But there's nothing going forward, which is fair enough because he stays back. But his tackles is worse than Zamora's. His interceptions is horrifically bad. His blocks half as good as Zamora, not even half as good as Zamora's. Like, there's nothing, and this is not against you at all, Luke, whatsoever, because it's a legitimate question. But his numbers are not poor defensively by any means. So, I don't know whether there is a any sort of narrative going on about whether Zamora is not very good at defending, but it's not true. So there's zero evidence, I would say, for leaving Zamora out of a team that needs to defend. I really would.
And we are off in this game in the first half. We are 2 minutes 15 in. And as we look at the current setup of AFC Bournemouth, I think it's a back 4. It looks like Chris Mepham, Senesi, Smith off the left, Fredericks off the right, with Billing, Lerma and Cook central in a 3. And then I think Tavernier, Christie and Solanke. It looks like
Tavernier's on the left and Christie's on the right of the wingers.
Of the wingers. I think it looked like a back 4, but I might be wrong. It depends how high up Fredericks has come up. But it looks like a back 4. So we talked about learning and whether Gary O'Neill would watch that Southampton tactics to set up back. It looks like he has, because we definitely have Fredericks on the right and Smith on the left, and we are 3 minutes in. Let's get some shout outs in the chat as we continue. Luke Andrews has gone for a Desmond 2-2. Neil Whedon's joined us this evening live on YouTube. Do give us a like. AFC Bournemouth said, let's go Germany. Let's go the Cherries from AFC Bournemouth, Germany. We've got Peter Nan. I know we're away, but I live so close to Bournemouth Stadium. I can see the floodlights and hear the crowd on game day is cracking. And nice. Luke says, loving the shout outs. Got money on a draw. And we are kicked off in this game that's on Sky Sports. You're joining us on YouTube for this watch along, and it's 3 minutes and 40 seconds in. And it's how about, John, we set ourselves into this game? Do we let West Ham have the ball, or do we try and get on the ball? Or is it all about the counter-attack?
I mean, I'm expecting it to be all the counter-attack. I mean, for those of you that just joined, I did say that I expect Bournemouth to sit pretty deep and try and get something on the counter. But I think West Ham have shown at the start they're quite comfortable in letting our back 4 have the ball. There was an early moment there when Lerma picked up a nice pass through from, I think it was Mepham, might have been Senesi, but it was one of the centre-backs. We've got Dom Solanke here coming very deep to help defend, as he does, as he keeps working very hard for the team. But yeah, I think we'll have to wait and see sort of how this settles in.
Chance here for West Ham.
That was Mepham with a slight mistake, tripping over his own feet, trying to deal with something, and that was looks like a very poor tackle from Lewis Cook going into the back of Flynn Downs, who's gone down just outside the 18-yard box on the right hand side. They're just showing again Skamaka's nice bit of Skamaka's nice bit of trickery, and then Fredericks comes out of nowhere and bulldozes Mepham to the ground. Great work, Ryan. So
an early chance, an early attack for West Ham. So it's going to be a free kick on West Ham's left. It's got Cresswell and Ben Rama over it. We've got to try and defend this well. Lerma's in there. Billings on Bowen. Soucek will be a target in this cross. An early chance for West Ham. 5 minutes and 23 seconds
They've got
into this
so
game.
much height.
So much.
So it's really going to be difficult to
Ben
deal
Rama
with.
went for the shot.
basically went to shoot, yeah.
And it hit the side netting of the near post. So that's the first chance in this game. Not quite on target, though.
No.
But we will probably, West Ham, as we're talking about this, we'll probably let West Ham have most of the ball. I mean, I think we only have about 29% average possession all season.
A little bit higher than that.
Is it a little
but
bit higher?
It was about 35 before the Southampton game.
Right.
And we got over 50% in that one. So
it depends what
still
app
about
you look
35.
at sometimes as well.
Yeah, probably. I suppose I'm going off the other 14, which who I think picks up from who
There's
scored.
a chance for Billing.
That's a pass forward to Billing. Solanke miscontrols, unfortunately. But
so yeah, we don't expect to have much of the ball. It's all about what we do with the ball, because in that Southampton game, we were just not good enough in possession, short passes, putting enough passes together. We spoke about it after the game, and when you're going into these matches on the road, John, and you're going to have not a lot of the ball, you've got to be good with the ball, especially if you're going to try and score, because otherwise it will end up being a 2-0 potentially.
I mean, yeah, could well be. We obviously need to make as much as we can as we can when we've got the ball in our possession. We are slowly moving up the right-hand side of the pitch at the moment. Solanke's going to have his work cut out for him against Kara, yes, but Zuma's physicality is quite something. But he'll do a decent job. Cresswell's nothing to sniff at as well on the left hand side, and Johnson a bit less so, but certainly he's got pace at least to deal with the likes of Solanke and Tavernier. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'd like us to try and really push up. It's a bit. It's difficult to do, and you need to be well trained with it. And you've got to look at a team like Newcastle as your guide for that, and how well Eddie has done it. But but they press so brilliantly high up the pitch. Their pressing and counter pressing is one of their best playmaking systems, because you don't really need to worry about who's going to create something if you win the ball in their third, because you're already in that position. One pass and you're in. And you never know what might happen. We're actually doing all right here.
Fredericks down the right-hand side, trying to take on Cresswell. Dink cross, headed by the West Ham defender. Billing wins the second ball. Someone's trying to does turn. It's all happening in the 6-yard box, and it's scrambled out by West Ham, and that's applying pressure from the right-hand side. Luke's asked if Fredericks is on the left. He's on the right in a back four, but he got forward well there, John, and Billing sort of re-energized the play with a second ball win, and Dom Solanke tried to turn 6-yard box. Fabianski came out and West Ham cleared it. First chance for Bournemouth.
Yeah, that's first proper chance of the match, I would say. And it was good work from Ryan Fredericks. He was a little bit unlucky because it was a nice dinked cross. He's trying to pick someone out, although it's because they were so close to the goal, it works out okay. Normally, you struggle to then create the pace on the header if it's that lofted. But it was very close to reaching Solanke. Headed out well. Billing does a nice job there. Neto.
Oh, that's a late challenge by Skamaka on Senesi.
Yeah, that's.
Refs playing on because we've got the ball, but not much of an advantage.
I don't know why the ref's sticking with advantage. Yeah,
that's poor.
He's on his own there.
West Ham on the attack now after the ref should have probably given a free kick, let play go, but Christie had no one within 5, 10, 15 yards of him, so he was outnumbered. We're out of possession, but that was a late challenge by Skamaka on Senesi as we played out from the back.
Yes, and then there was some good work by Fredericks and Cook combining to take the ball off Benrahma when we looked like we might get caught. At the moment, we've got Johnson going up against Tavernier deep in our left-hand side. Tavernier doing a good job there. Back to Souček, who puts it back to Zoma. Yes, that he may come back to that, but I think possibly not. That generated from Neto being very lackadaisical on the ball. Yeah. Ryan Christie does really well to win the ball back there, and then within 2 touches, he kicks the ground and loses the ball. So
just not quick enough in the thinking of what we're doing at the moment. Every time you get on the ball, West Ham are looking to win it back instantly. So there's a bit of a press on from West Ham. So when Christie wins that ball, he needs to get his head up and he needs to think a bit faster about what he's going to do with it. Al from Brisbane is joining us. He's watching 5 a.m. Tuesday morning. Thank you, Alan, for joining us. And Luke I am confirming that Smith is playing on the left. Ben Johnson has the ball for West Ham. Currently at the back, a switch on. Declan Rice has it. And West Ham are starting to gain possession and percentage of the ball. Percentages.
Percentages.
It depends where you want to.
You're playing chess now. You're
Absolutely. And it's a header for West Ham. It was a cross in the box when they had percentage of the ball. And
possession
of the ball. Possession, and they've headed over, and that's their second chance, and they've still failed to hit target.
Yeah, that was a decent ball in from the left, I think, from Cresswell, and that looks like Souček making one of his typical late runs.
Percentages in America?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No.
I can't get away with it then.
No, you can't. They're just re-showing that other chance. Yeah, it looked like it almost got through. Solanke close, and then Fredericks has actually got. Fredericks has almost nicked it off the keeper there.
Fabianski was great there.
Yes, well, he has to be in that position. You get paid to be put yourself in harm's way as a goalkeeper. Talking about Luke saying, and we're saying that Smith is playing at left back, and I would say that nominally he certainly is, but I think that this may well be possibly the main reason why Smith continues to play at left back is because he's basically a left centre back.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't go up the pitch at all.
No.
But he doesn't do that when he's on the right either. So it doesn't really matter where you put him in the back three, apart from in the middle. You don't want him in the middle. But if you put him on the left or the right of the back three, then it kind of works out.
Switch on here for Lerma. He's seen it. Fredericks coming in from the right. Dom Solanke again trying to win it. And Fredericks is being very positive in this first 12 minutes of this game. As we spoke about Smith not really getting forward. He doesn't do it on either side nowadays. But Fredericks is the one that's got the speed and he is looking to get up the pitch. And he's already shown that in the first 12 minutes.
Yeah, he's certainly
This is why he should have been playing on the right against Southampton.
Yeah, exactly. Because when he gets the ball, he can then put it in with his right foot straight away rather than check back or use his weaker left foot. But I was mentioning that Smith playing at left centre-back. What this is basically doing is asking a hell of a lot from Tavernier, which is probably why he continues to play, because he's playing on the left-hand side. Because, yes, he sets up maybe as a left mid, as a left winger, but he's basically a left wing back. Because when we're defending, he is required to drop deep to help out all the time. But then when we're attacking, he needs to be one of the forces that goes forward. He is being asked to do so much for the team, and he really puts it in. But I do think that we're maybe asking a little bit too much of him, and might be better to just play a left wing back there and let Tavernier play higher, or play like Zamora, a left back.
Some think that Tavernier should be playing in the middle, but I think that creates another problem.
Oh, not in the middle. No, I wouldn't want him playing in the middle. I think
Tavernier is on the ball.
That's a lovely first touch.
And Tavernier is on the ball now with Smith left back inside West Ham's half, just about. Dom Solanke trying to do a reverse pass back to Tavernier, giving away possession currently now with Declan Rice with 13 minutes on the clock. Both teams quite evenly matched at the moment. And Billing is quite close to Dom Solanke, almost like a second striker at the moment. He gets that free roll in this type of formation. And this is a formation we want to see. Ben Rama back in the West Ham team tonight. And he's just broken a pass between Tavernier and Lerma.
From Stinetti there.
They're getting on the ball, but we're defending well. We're closing the gaps and the spaces that we need to do, John.
Yeah, I would say I think it's something that not a lot of Bournemouth fans want to hear. But Scott Parker did actually coach us pretty well defensively. I know that no one really likes to give Parker any credit at all.
Yeah.
And believe me, I was like a lot of people that were very frustrated at how defensive we were in the Championship. But he has set us good foundations for the Premier League. Yes, we completely. I know that sounds sort of like hypocritical when you consider like 4-0 against City, 3-0 against Arsenal, 9-0 against Liverpool. But that 9-0 Liverpool game, I'm convinced he set us up to lose badly so that he could have a go at the upper management, and it completely backfired on him. So I would ignore those three games. And you look at clean sheet against Villa, best defense in the league and in the Championship. It set us up well. We are pretty darn well structured defensively. It's just about, can we then turn our sort of solid base into actually a decent attack, which at the moment we haven't done much of this season. We've just made what we can, but it'll be interesting to see how this pushes on. But yes, like I was saying with Smith playing essentially left centre back, we have really been playing a back three all season,
Mm.
even though nominally it's been a back four. You've seen with Smith staying so deep, playing in what I think is his best position now, playing as an outside centre back.
Mm.
He stays so deep all the time. We are always playing in a back three. It's just about whether whether we settle into a back four or we settle into a back five.
Mm.
And in this match, it looks like it is a back four because Tavernier is a bit higher. That was
Ben Rama back
blocked.
on the ball, gets a rebound, plays it through the middle again, and we close that one out. Lewis Cook getting on the ball. Dom Solanke, 50-50. Tavernier is through. It's a mistake by the West Ham defender. Tavernier to the left. I hate to say it. He was looking for Dom Solanke that was out wide to the right. There was sort of a 3-on-2, 2-on-3 going on. And Tavernier's pass was terrible. He got his head up. I would give him that. He got his head up. He saw him. But that final third delivery, what
I would say is that he had no chance of finding Solanke there. That was an incredibly tough ball in. But Solanke had given up.
Yeah.
And didn't realise that the ball had fallen to Tavernier, so he was behind Cresswell, and he was never getting to that cross. Unless that was one of the best crosses that you'll see all season, he wasn't getting to it. It wasn't great, I will grant you. It was an awful cross.
Do you think, though, that every time now that Tavernier, and I spoke about Tavernier on Twitter, about how he needs to up these certain aspects of his game, do you think this would play on his mind? I mean, he's a professional footballer on the ball at the moment. I'll come back to it in a moment because Tavernier's on the ball down the left. Billings looking to run beyond. Tavernier's getting his head up. Played a slide pass down the left to Billing, who crosses. Fredericks coming in, cleared by Cresswell. Fredericks there. Oh, it's Lewis Cook that won the rebound, but it went through to Fabianski. Talking about Tavernier then, I mean, do you think it'll play on his mind, a £10 million professional footballer, that every time he gets the ball, he must know that he's getting criticism for his final third completions in crossing and deliveries and quality? Is he worrying about it? Do you think he's playing on his mind?
I would imagine. I don't think he'd be human if he wasn't doing it. He wouldn't be a professional footballer if he wasn't his harshest critic. You have to be very harsh on yourself. You have to be looking to keep improving. As he was playing in the Championship for a good few years and was improving, but now he's got his chance in the Premier League. He knows he needs to perform. Attack now. Fredericks on the right, Johnson on the right hand side, crosses it in. Ball falls to Souček,
blocked by Mepham, closing a second shot down. Great save from Neto as Cresswell struck it, caught it well. It was a block initially from Mepham, and that is West Ham's first shot on target, and a great save from Neto, who continues to keep his place in the Bournemouth team. Showing the highlight again, the cross from Johnson, cleared by Fredericks, shot from Downs or Souček, and then a shot from Cresswell. That was a great save.
Yes, it was. We're now going into a corner. We'll come back to that chance in a moment. Actually, I think the referee is maybe, because there's a lot of... Oh, God, you've got Lewis Cook on Samaka. A corner comes in from Bowen, in swinger, headed well clear by Solanke. Ball goes back in, and Bowen taking a great touch, not quite, and then it goes out. I think he probably would have been offside. Going back to that chance, that was an interesting one because we weren't quite in the right position there because Billing had found himself at left mid. Adam Smith had burst out of his position to follow Bowen, perhaps, but Bowen had just dinked the ball over the top. Billing had completely lost his man because it's not his man, it's Tavernier's man. I don't know where Tavernier was. And Johnson ended up in acres of space down the right-hand side. That is a little bit worrying if they manage to get us out of position that easily. Oh, Neto with a terrible kick.
From Neto from goal kick. He's got away with it. Scamacca couldn't control the ball, run through straight to Neto. He apologises to the team, and he has got possession back in his hands. Rob Toy, thank you for your comments recently on the channel. Is Christie actually playing?
We haven't mentioned him yet, but he is playing.
He is playing. He's had a few poor touches where he's gotten the ball and then been intercepted. Lerma's having a good impact in this game at the moment with switches of play. Christie's on the ball as we speak. Fredericks is high up again in the final third as he enters it against West Ham. He's just taken on Cresswell, now being marked by Ben Rama, looking for a foul, not given. I think that's one of the talking points that does get sort of targeted at Fredericks is, does he go down too softly, John? Because we might have had more decisions, but does his sort of reputation follow him around?
He's built his own reputation. There's been 3 times that and I'm attacked by West Ham.
This
Actually,
is end-to-end
Skamaka on the ball on the
basketball
left hand
at the moment.
side.
There's
and
a
he played
chance here. Great save by Neto.
and cleared by
Tavernier.
Tavernier, but oh boy, I think a lot of the defenders are now looking at the linesman, wondering how the hell that wasn't given as offside. Skamaka ended up, and now it is given as offside. Skamaka ended up with quite a lot of space on the left hand side here, and the ball gets cut back to Downs. Ben Wright, he wasn't offside. He wasn't.
Foot maybe.
So
Maybe right foot, if it had
maybe
gone to
by
VAR.
a pinky.
Yeah.
But he nutmegs Mepham, and then I think that's then Ram Suchek.
Just to clarify, it's very difficult to tell whether it's
Souček.
Souček or Downs.
Or Bowen,
Or
actually.
Bowen. They're very
although he's a
similar.
bit taller, their hair colour is identical.
And if you're at the
Um,
London Stadium, it's probably even
yeah.
harder because you're so far away. You need
yeah,
binoculars.
yeah.
Neto's gone for a long ball. It's gone straight through. Dom Solanke was trying to battle for it. Let's go back to Fredericks because it's a great game at the moment. It's end-to-end stuff, but we're trying to get into some talking points throughout the game. And Fredericks' reputation, does he get a penalty potentially at Fulham if it's not
Yeah.
Ryan Fredericks? You know, has his reputation. Do these sort of reputations follow these players around?
I don't know. You'd have to talk. We spoke to a referee recently. We should
did.
have asked him. I would imagine it does to a small extent because what I do know is the referees do their research on their players. And they will have done great tackle from Adam Smith. And
On
now
the
we're on a little bit of a
turnover.
counter. Tavernier's on the ball now. He's got Christie going alongside him on the right-hand side. Christie's played in. He's now down the right. He's gone past the penalty box, looking to play it back to Tavernier, who opens his body out and goes for the shot, and it's miles away. It's absolutely miles away. Where were we? Yes, Fredericks.
Man over as well. He could have gone back to Christie. I think Fredericks was doing an overlap potentially as well. I don't blame Tavernier for having the shot. Fredericks has actually held his hands up.
Yeah,
saying
I think he
for a
could have. He
reverse
definitely
ball.
could have done. I think it goes. I've had a few people because I mentioned Fredericks a couple of times on Twitter recently, and I had a few people come back at me and sort of one in particular sort of saying, "What have you got against Fredericks?" And I was like, "Well, just if you just look." The problem is that I know Smith is an awful diver as well. Like he tries to do it artistically, and he generally does it in his own third, which is why he gets so many fouls. But he's had a couple moments, Rob, Christie, so far. But he has also lost the ball a few times as well. He's having a typical game, Christie. But Fredericks, because I've already dealt with seeing Smith dive every blimmin' opportunity, winning free kicks he should never get in his own third, but because he's a defender in his own box, he gets them. And now Fredericks is trying it in opposition boxes and whatnot, and they're so minimal that it's like, mate, there's VAR now. You've got to stop just falling to the ground under a tackle because you expect to get caught, which I understand. But anyway, corner to West Ham.
Corner to West Ham. Cresswell from the left, dealt with just about by
Senesi.
Senesi, and it'll be another corner. Luke Andrews has said, "Great seeing you boys in the same room. The dream team, not quite Gary Neville and Roy Keane yet, but we're having fun because you are down back home for this week, and we thought we'd have a catch up and a watch along together. And this is another corner for West Ham. Cresswell again. Ben Rama's on the edge of the box, unmarked.
As is Downs. Or Bowen.
In the box. Billing looks to win the header, doesn't win the header. Lewis Cook does. Dribbles the ball out the box. Nothing up top at the moment. Lewis Cook looking for someone. This is dangerous play at the moment. Smith goes back towards Senesi and Billing, and we might lose possession here in a moment.
Yeah,
it's going to be a
West Ham throw.
Bournemouth throw.
No, that should have been West Ham throw. Billing last contact, but it's given as a Bournemouth throw, I think. I was thinking there was definitely a shout for handball here. There was an arm that came out. No, it comes off Billing's leg. Unless it's a different angle that we're not
another alternative view here.
Or was that? Oh no! I mean,
it'll be harsh.
You can see Lewis Cook has got his arm against his body. If that's given, it's ridiculous. Where were we? Oh yes, mentioning someone did ask a question during when we were doing sort of the preview to the game. They were asking whether I was visiting you or you were visiting me. I am down from Manchester in Bournemouth, well, the Ferndown area, and I'm at Kirk's. West Ham
play.
On attack.
Cresswell now getting deep into Bournemouth's final third, and Ben Rama, he sort of receives the ball, turns on the ball. Declan Rice can shoot from distance, does shoot from distance.
Lewis Cook blocks.
By Lewis Cook. Lewis Cook, one of probably the highlights of that Southampton game, if there was one. He started well in this game, working hard, winning possession, turning it over. But we are, at the moment, under a little bit of a cosh with Johnson on the right. He crosses the ball, dealt with, sort of. Scamacca turns. Legs are going in. Lerma's winning the ball. And this is the issue here, John, is when we win possession, and we are coming out of it now, but I'm saying that when we've been this deep in games and we've got Dom Solanke in our own half, there's no outlet.
Yeah, I do think that West Ham are generally packing the box when they get the ball in. But we're also packing the box ourselves to sort of deal with it defensively. And what's happening at the moment is that the ball is dropping quite frequently central and not very far outside the box. And we've got generally about 4 or 5 players that are deep in that area. So you've got Lerma or Cook that are frequently picking the ball up when it lands from those crosses that aren't very successful for West Ham at the moment. And I would like to see a little bit more come from those. But the thing is that Tavernier's quite deep. Christie's quite deep. Billings probably dropped into the box as well. And yes, the ball is getting to Solanke, and not many of the players are really pushing up to try and create a counter-attack. It doesn't look like they want to create a counter-attack from their own box, which is difficult to do when they've still got basically 5 men back and we've only got 1 even near their half.
I do think this is one of our problematic areas that we might need to solve in January, because when we do play this type of formation in a way where we're trying to sit deep and then counter, you're going to need attack when you turn over possession or when you go for that effectiveness up top. And I don't think we really have that raw pace. And,
no.
And when you look at raw pace, we maybe Jaden Anthony's in that category slightly.
Not
Dembele.
Really. Not really.
Dembele
he's not
is,
as fast
but
as
he's
you
not
think.
on the bench tonight.
No.
I think that is an area I think that we will be looking at in January, whether we can get someone that can actually...
Oh, great work there from
within
Neto
10
from the corner.
seconds, catch Dom up.
I mean, maybe, but I'd say that Tavernier can do that. But here's the thing. Gary Neville and Martin Tyler. Hey, if I'm not too displeased being compared to Gary Neville. I mean, we've got Neil Whedon with a comment here. Does Jade Nancy produce more than Tavernier? I mean, empirically, he does. You know, he's got more goals. He doesn't have an assist.
No, he doesn't.
But Anthony's also
Great
barely played.
by Lerma.
Fantastic tackle from Lerma, tracking back.
Lerma's
We'd love
on
to
it
see
tonight,
it from Lerma.
by the way. Lewis Cook's working hard as well.
Yeah.
So our midfield at the moment is...
Man on.
But Dom Solanke is currently receiving the ball in the left wing back position.
That is an issue. You got Senesi there, I think, outmuscling.
Play continues.
Outmuscling Rice.
Scamacca, Benrahma off the left, cuts in.
Oh,
and that
that's
might
not.
be a
That's
free
a
kick.
dive. That's a dive.
Refs let it go. Christie's on the ball, looking for support. No support.
And he's
goes
just run
back
backwards
to
10 yards.
Mepham. And any influential move we would have had there has gone. And Smith pulls left.
Tavernier's done that as well.
Yeah.
Christie had the ball further up, but he was the 2nd or 3rd highest player for Bournemouth, and he turned backwards to find another option. But you look at here at the moment, you've got centre-back spreads, you've got goalkeeper in the middle, and they're just happy to let us try and play from there. But lovely ball from Neto, finds Billing in the left mid position, who's going up against Souček. Just about deals with that, but then the ball goes back to Adam Smith after a 1-2 with Tavernier.
We are killing the ball a little bit at times. I mean, I think Gary O'Neill will be happy to take a point here tonight. You can't always play for a point. That's quite hard to do in the Premier League for 90 minutes, but we are killing the ball at times. I think we were okay in the first 12 minutes. I think Fredericks was very positive, but you go through spells in a football match. You can't play at high intensity for 90 minutes. And 29 minutes in, 0-0, we're competing. We're in this football match.
Yeah. And yeah, that was a dive. They're just re-showing Benrahma, and Senesi just comes across and then doesn't touch him. Yeah, a very good call from the ref. And I think another player that has a bit of a reputation, probably. But
from Brentford.
Yeah, well, he was very good at Brentford, and he's just been too injury prone at West Ham. Unfortunately, not really seen the best of him. Oh, that was close. Almost a good ball, but oh no, that's pulled back from for a foul on Adam Smith there. I think he got kneed in the back possibly, but Smith is good at making sure he gets those free kicks. What was I going to say? Oh yes, sorry. Neil Whedon's point about Jayden Nancy producing more than Tavernier. He does. He's also been on the pitch less, and when you come on late in a game, you'll find it easier to have an impact on the match. The other thing I would say is that Tavernier's most important aspect of him for Gary O'Neill will be his will be his defensive work rate. And as much as I feel as though Jed Nancy will still do that as well. I really liked in the Championship how hard he worked defensively. And obviously, we forget at the start of the season, his pressing numbers were outstanding. And remember that goal against QPR where he wins the ball off Dickey and then passes it around the keeper to get us the first goal, completely against the run of play. And we were doing badly in that game. We got the first goal within 10 minutes. I think I get what you're saying in terms of like you want that pace to be able to create the counterattacks. However, what we do have at the moment is we've got Solanke, who is a player that's not going to stay on the last man when we're defending. He's going to help us out, and there is no doubt that that's part of the tactics to make sure that above all else, if we have to have 10 men in our third to stop them from scoring, you do it. Like, we can all be as encouraging as we want to be about, we want to try and attack the game.
I understand away from home, though.
Yeah, exactly.
At home, I want to be a little bit more.
Yeah, but you need players that are all going to dig in and are going to do as hard as they can to stop the ball from going in first. Because at the end of the day, if you managed to play 38 games and draw 0-0 in every single one of them, you'd stay up.
Likely.
No, you would. Yeah. Like there's one. It's like that would be one game out of one season out of the last dozen that you wouldn't stay up. It's just 38 points is generally going to keep you up. So you really should be trying first and foremost to make sure you don't concede. Getting goals on the counter is definitely a way that Bournemouth can produce more, and I would like to see us try a little bit harder to produce something on the counter. But to be fair, our second goal against Fulham was basically on the counter. Yeah. That was winning a ball from a goal kick under no pressure, Mepham heading it down, and then we produced the goal by Solanke moving into the channel. I think that yes, you might like a speedy player out wide. I think we do in Tavernier. I think he does have pace to burn, but he needs to be able to defend. And Dembele is a player that could come on and produce real pace and do a lot on the counter out wide. But the thing is that is he necessarily going to be able to produce the defensive numbers that Tavernier does? Admittedly, Dembele has at times encouraged me in the Championship when we saw him come on and actually do his work defensively, but not to the same extent that I think Tavernier can and does.
Pro P has just said just now after that 9-0 defeat that West Ham are going to win. He's predicting a West Ham 2, Bournemouth 1.
Well, he just put that it's after the 9-0 defeat. It's that our season's over. It's like you have been watching our results. You have been keeping an eye on our results, haven't you? We were unbeaten until that Southampton game. We're not in the relegation zone. We're higher than West Ham. Yeah, it's just West Ham are favourites in this game without a doubt. Pro P, and I think most people the vast majority expect West Ham to win, but that doesn't mean they will. Just got to see what happens.
Neil Whedon has said Anthony also has more. Subtlety to this game. You did that you did this on purpose, Neil. You did that on purpose. His awareness and technical ability is better, in my honest opinion.
Just say Neto's just gone down. We've seen that before.
This is interesting.
We've seen that before.
Neto has gone down. He did this at Fulham. Looks like he's going to have a groin injury. Travers is now going down the sideline to warm up, and I heard that potentially it's to get some advice or some notes from the coaching team. Let's see what happens, because this did happen at Fulham and he was absolutely fine after he got treatment, which he currently is getting at the moment. Let's just take a look.
I think that's calf. I think because they're doing similar exercises around the knee that they did last time.
Let's just take a look at the SofaScore stats as they are at the moment after 34 minutes. West Ham have 58% possession. Bournemouth have 42. Total shots for West Ham is 7-1. Shot on target. That'll be the save from Cresswell's shot. 2 shots for Bournemouth, 1 shot on target. Tavernier did have a shot outside the box, but it went straight over. No corners for Bournemouth, so no opportunities at the moment to apply pressure from a corner point of view. Although, if you look at our current deliveries from corners, it doesn't give you much hope.
Yeah.
But 3 corners for West Ham, but we've dealt with it comfortably. And this game is, as we said, John, quite evenly balanced at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they've had 8 shots to our 2, but it's only one shot on target each. So, Neto's produced one decent save. Fredericks has just had to pick the ball up off the floor. That's Fredericks. Fabianski has only just had to pick the ball up off the floor once. They didn't actually show a replay of a moment where Neto kicks the ball long and then does look like he sort of felt something. So the thing is, what I say is that, yes, you could use something like that tactically. You definitely could. However, you do that a few games in a row and suddenly everyone's like, hold on a second here. Like, what are you doing? This is not right. But
it is
that
strange,
doesn't mean, bearing in mind Southampton, he didn't. And that was a game in between. And we were doing much worse in that game.
He's not even taking goal kicks now.
Well, he did that against Fulham when he felt it that time. And then he took every other goal kick afterwards. But it's more so that if it happens, the manager needs to be able to use that opportunity to get across ideals on the pitch. You'd see Eddie making notes constantly. Even Jason Tyndall has got used to making notes on the side of the pitch as well. That if you've got things that you want to say at half time, but suddenly something like this happens 10 minutes before half time and you go, no, Billing, I want him to do that. I wanted to give him these instructions at half time, but now keeper's down, nothing's happening. Phil, come on, I want you to do this. And you should use that as your opportunity if you're a manager that's preparing yourself well enough to do that. I mean, I don't think O'Neill has a notepad. He keeps in his hands in his pockets a lot of the time. But just looking at there on the sidelines at the bottom of the pitch there, ignoring the football, just staring at Gary O'Neill for a brief moment. Pro P chiming up again. I'm guessing you're a West Ham fan. Look, I mean, it's no surprise that you think that. Bournemouth have been favourites to go down all season.
And we want you to
just keep predicting us to go down. Because it happened in 2015-16.
Dom Solanke's intercepted. A poor pass by Soucek. He's one-on-one with the West Ham defender. He's got a lot to do on his left-hand side. Good shot straight down the throat of Fabianski. That is a half chance for Bournemouth, but that was given away in the centre of the park by Soucek. Dom Solanke intercepted it, and he was one-on-one. But as he was getting closer to the goal, more West Ham defenders were closing him down. No one from Bournemouth was running in on behind him. A left-foot shot, but didn't trouble Fabianski in the end.
It was a tough position.
He did the best he could in the situation he was in. And now Dom Solanke has gone down holding his ankle, and that is not a sight I want to see. No. And I don't think this is to get some sort of information to Billing.
No, he was. It's when he was tackled by Kaye. Did a really good job and was tackled.
I'm hoping it's impact and not a roll, or he's caught it in the ground. I'm hoping it's Neto might actually have something seriously wrong with him. He's still holding the back of his knee.
I think he gave a thumbs up. So I think Neto will be okay, but Solanke looks like he's in quite a bit of pain. But he does okay
now. Oh
no, that should impact. Then I think he gets landed on. Maybe he's feeling it there. It looks like it would be an impact one because I think he kicks Kerry as he's going through with his left foot to try and produce a finish. Yeah. His left foot follows through and kicks into Kera's leg, so you would expect that to be an impact one, but then I think Kaye might have landed on him as well.
He looks in quite a bit of pain.
Yeah, he did look in quite a lot of pain.
Dom Solanke doesn't look comfortable. I thought it looks an impact, but it could be an impact followed by potentially his ankle turning in a sort of being landed on. He's got up at the moment. He's hands on his knees. He's going to try and run it off potentially. He doesn't look comfortable though. Dom Solanke might leave this fixture potentially. Kiefer Moore's warming up. I mean, John, talking about we needing to finish 17th in this division, we're going to need goals, and we're pinning a lot of hopes on Dom Solanke to get a lot of those goals that we're going to need. And he's looking in some discomfort. He's just now on the touchline area.
Yeah, it's not looking great. I think there's no doubt that Solanke is one of our most important players. He's so important in the way that we progress the ball up the pitch. He helps out. He does a huge job defensively, but then does so much more for us in holding the ball up, running behind, combining. He's got a better relationship with the likes of Phil Billing and the other attackers than as much as Kiefer Moore, has already scored in the Prem for us. It's, he can do one role, whereas Solanke can do so much more. He has come back on the pitch. He's sort of trying to look to run it off. We'll see what happens. Bournemouth did have a throw-in up in West Ham's half, but the ball has ended up back at Neto. He's hit it long, and West Ham are on a bit of a break here. It's a 4-on-5, more like a 6-on-7. Benrahma's coming inside, possibly.
Nothing out wide, right?
He was pushed out wide well.
Still on the ball here, West Ham. They are with Declan Rice, still over on the left-hand side. This could be Downs, who's switched it in. Mepham defending well, not for the first time this season. Ryan Christie trying to keep possession, but doesn't. Gives the ball away and a free kick. Declan Rice. They are about 40 yards out now. Declan Rice is hobbling, holding his knee. And a few players in this game have picked up some injuries, but he'll run that off. Just keep an eye on Dom Solanke for the next 5 minutes. I think get him in at half time, have a really good look at him because we're going to want to keep him on the pitch. We've got a good striker in Kiefer Moore, but a very different striker, Kiefer Moore, to Dom Solanke. A chance here for West Ham, though, from a free kick. Cresswell went for a short one. Fate that one. It's going to be a proper free kick that we're going to need to defend.
Ball's about to come in from Cresswell towards the back post, headed by Zuma, goes wide and is kept in from Bowen. Billings forcing him backwards. Johnson's ball back in isn't great. Not cleared well. Ball foisted back in and Billing is able to head clear, but not to the free Tavernier. Heads it past him. West Ham remain on the attack in our half with Declan Rice left to Benrahma.
Benrahma picks up the ball, trying to take on Fredericks, facing him up, crossed in the box, half shot, half cross, dealt with Lerma. Tavernier now on the ball, just outside our box, trying to play out left, intercepted. Senesi comes across, good challenge there from the West Ham player in Downs, and that's an AFC Bournemouth throw-in. And the plan might be to get in this game, stay in this game, get in at half-time, and maybe try and nick a goal in the second half. But 0-0. We said we'd take a draw at the start of this fixture. There's a few injury concerns that we're going to need to manage at half-time potentially. But Adam Smith has a throw-in on the left.
And it ends up back with West Ham. Question from Kiefer Sutherland. Famous name. Mepham, thoughts, Kirk?
Let me just see how this opens up at the moment with Benrahma going for a switch from left to right. Adam Smith now on the counter. Adam Smith showing his ambition to get forward. Jeff Lerma, I think he's had a really good game so far. Jeff Lerma, he's played it out right. I'll come back to Chris Mepham in just a moment. It's Ryan Fredericks looking to face up Aaron Cresswell again. He is shuffling left to right, but goes back to Lewis Cook, who tries to play a ball between the lines. Just
put the ball in the box, Fredericks. Just put the ball in the box, Fredericks.
I think I've always been quite honest about Chris Mepham. I think I've always wanted him in the squad. I think he's had some tough moments in his career, tough moments at Bournemouth. What I do like about Chris Mepham is he seems to want to learn as a footballer. He seems to get over those tough moments and try again. And I like that. Look, did I think Chris Mepham would be as good as he's been this season? Probably not. I think this is the most consistent I've ever seen Chris Mepham. And I said, as long, Dom Solanke's gone down again, by the way, but as long as Chris Mepham continues to grow as a footballer, we'll benefit from it. And do you know what? He's getting very close now after 12, 13 games to proving a lot of Bournemouth fans wrong. Dom Solanke's coming off this pitch. This is not a good sight for Bournemouth fans. Kiefer Moore's coming on, and I know that Bournemouth fans don't mind Kiefer Moore, but not for this change.
Yeah, unfortunately, just if he's not able to continue, then there's no point in keeping him going. Just need to take him off and rest him up, put some ice on his ankle, and just hope that he recovers in time for Tottenham, because that's another big game, and we could certainly do with his presence in there. But Chris Mepham has been probably our best player of the season. One of our best players of the season, without a doubt. He's been almost faultless. And we'll just wait for a West Ham corner here. Gets put in the box, and that looks like a high foot.
That was a high foot.
That's
It's a goal for
a
West
goal's been
Ham.
given for
The
West Ham.
referee has not cancelled it out, but there is definitely a high foot in there. The goal has gone to Zuma. The ball sort of ricocheted around in the box, and he's got on the end of it. But this
I
could
saw
go
a high
to
foot there.
this could go to VAR. That looked like a high foot in the build up to that
I mean,
goal.
VAR will have a look at it. There definitely looks like there was a high foot. I
So-
think Billing is too deep and keeps him onside.
Or I don't know if he goes fully.
Oh,
in
hang
for
on,
the
wait a
high
minute. Was
foot.
he off? Was he
Is
onside?
Is
Was
he
he
onside?
offside?
Another question.
He comes from very deep.
Let's deal with the high foot. I don't think he, and there could be a handball. I don't think he fully goes for the high foot. That's the first question.
Yes,
Is that a handball? Here, there's
no,
handball.
it's
That's
not.
handball.
No, his hands right
No,
up,
that's
his arms right against his chest.
Is it? That might not. And is
it-
he offside?
No, he's not. He's not. He's nowhere near offside.
Is that not handball though? Because it's not the phase leading up to the goal.
It's. I think in that situation, I'm just
I
frustrated by
think it's handball. I'm
no,
going for the handball.
no, they're looking at offsides here, and he's just clearly not offside. But I think
That's handball.
oh,
That's handball.
he
But-
moves his arms
right,
towards the
but
ball.
hang on a minute.
Yeah, that's handball.
But hang on a
that
minute.
has to
But
be
that's
handball.
not in the lead up to the goal. There's a phase before the next phase that leads to the goal. That's still handball for me.
No, but that's not how it really should be. That's not how it should be adjudicated.
It's a goal.
He's
giving it as a goal. I tell you why he's giving it as a goal.
All right.
I'm gonna go in
Right.
on this. So it is handball, by the way. The reason he's giving it as a goal is because it's not the phase that leads up to the goal. There's another bit of play after the handball that then leads to a goal. That is why it's been given. That is shocking.
But I also think that there's the other aspect to it is the fact that his arms are right in front of his belly. If it doesn't hit his arms, it hits him in the chest.
But
It's not a high ball,
but
high foot.
But if it goes from him to Suma, that's cancelled out because it doesn't matter if it's
telling it hit him in the chest. There's cameras, you idiot.
because it
yeah,
doesn't
it
matter
hits-
if it's intentional or not.
No, but I mean, the thing is the annoyance is that that's changed since last year as well. Last year, the guidance was that if the ball hits the attacker anywhere on the arm, it's given as a handball. But in that instance, it's I understand where you're coming from with that, and yes, I think it's more so that I would rather it be looked at purely as the fact that is it in that silhouette they often used to use the term in the player's silhouette, is he making his silhouette bigger? And the fact is that it hits him square in the stomach if his or in his abs if his hands aren't there. So I think he has limited his jump by not using his arms. He's kept his arms down over his chest.
Yeah, I suppose we're coming at it different angles because I'm not really looking at it as if it's a penalty or not. I'm looking at it
a penalty, but it'd be a free
what
kick.
I mean is,
yeah.
sorry, if it's intentional or not. Sorry, shall I say, or whether his arms are out or arms are in.
Yeah.
I suppose what I'm looking at is you've seen goals cancelled out. Marcus Rashford, where the ball ricocheted off his arm and then he scored. So my understanding of the handball rule, if anyone wants to look it up and confirm it wrong or right, is that if it touches your arm and leads to a goal in that same phase, it should have been disallowed. I think the reason it's not disallowed is because there's another phase of play
because
after
it reaches Mepham, who clears it, and then when it's put back in, that's when the goal happens.
But it is sort of still the same phase because it happens within like 3 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't go on for 20 seconds and come back.
That's how they have. That's how they're starting to turn it anyway.
We are going in to half time. Dom Solanke's come off the pitch. Bournemouth are 1-0 down. Lewis Cook's just given possession away in a really positive area. 49 minutes on the clock. 4 minutes added on. We've gone past that. And there is West Ham 1, Bournemouth 0. But definitely a talking point involving VAR again. That was definitely echoed correctly. Final few moments. We'll have a quick look at the stats before we go to a halftime break. Please do stay with us. Hit the like button. we will have a short break just for us to grab a drink, have a toilet, and we'll be back with you for the second half once this first half ends, which it has. And that will lead us into half time, which will have West Ham taking the lead in this Premier League fixture. And Bournemouth fans, Bournemouth players are already asking the referee why this score is West Ham 1, Bournemouth 0. Gary O'Neill's entering the pitch as well to have a conversation with the referee. John, should we take a look at the statistics in this first half? Sofa score? Let's head over there, where West Ham have 60% possession, 40% to Bournemouth, 11 shots against 3, 2 on target for both teams. And the key stat is that it's West Ham 1, Bournemouth 0. Do they deserve it? I think it was very much an even game, but we are 1-0 down and work to do.
Yeah, they weren't exactly making much. They were looking the more dangerous side. Bournemouth's biggest chance, you would say, in terms of that Solanke one that he got injured from, was from a West Ham mistake, which is what you want Bournemouth to do, to try and take advantage of any errors that West Ham make. And there have been times when we've won the ball sort of either in some part of their half or towards the middle of the pitch, and sort of made movements to try and create a chance on some form of counter, but it's not been a lot. It's interesting to look at there that they've lost possession more than we have, which sounds about right. But then, there've been quite a few times when we've not been good enough on the ball to just keep hold of it. It's not been fantastic from Bournemouth. We weren't expecting it to be brilliant from us today. Like I said, I expected us to play very deep and try and hit on the counter, but we've been very deep, so deep that we've not really been able to create anything off the counter. So I'd like us to just push a bit more into them, just put a bit more pressure on to try and win the ball a little higher up the pitch, because if we keep sitting as deep as we have been at times, we're not going to be able to get out of our own third, and that has shown at times when it's reached Solanke or Tavernier, and we're barely out of our own third, and we're already got no options and not produced anything. So it's those shots numbers are telling at the moment.
We can already see your comments coming through in the interactive chat. VAR is very much on the agenda. We'll come back to them in a moment. Look, we're going to take a short break. Do stay with us. Hit the like button. Don't turn us off, because there's another 45 minutes to come in this YouTube live watch along in this Premier League fixture, and Bournemouth have got it all to do. But me and John, we're going to take a short break just to grab a drink, and we'll be back with you very, very soon. Make sure you stay where you are. See you in a bit. We are back live on this watch along YouTube. Look, we got Matt Davies backstage. Let's bring Matt Davies into this. It's currently West Ham 1, AFC Bournemouth 0. Going to get to your chat comments in a moment, Matt. Look, you probably have the advantage of hearing what conversations are being had from the live commentary. We can't have that on during this YouTube. One topic we need to talk about, Matt, VAR. Now, handball in the play, potentially, probably didn't mean it. Not many defenders do. But the reason I suppose it's not been given as a handball is because it wasn't the last phase that led to the goal.
Ridiculous for me. Well, it's becoming embarrassing now. And this is going to sound like sour grapes, and it's going to sound like I'm crying over spilt milk and all the rest of it. And I'm being, a petulant child or whatever it is. And pathetic. Of course, the Premier League are not against little old Bournemouth. But this is becoming embarrassing, to be honest. It's becoming embarrassing. And questions have got to be asked. I mean, I don't want to harp on about the past, the fact that we were relegated because of a decision that went against us to edge us out of the Premier League. But I will harp on about the present. And this season, how many times are we going to get decisions go against us with VAR, and always with the handball rule? None of them have gone for us. We haven't had the rub of the green on one. I don't know how many replays you've seen of it, lads, but he's volleyed it. The game volleyball. He's actually volleyed it into the path of the attacker, which leads to a goal. So how is that not contributing to a goal? What you tell me how that shouldn't be ruled out? His hands are in an unnatural. He has volleyed it with two arms into the path of the goal, which then leads to the ball being hooked into the net. So how is that not? How can it not be ruled out? It's right. Beyond me. It's baffling.
So, lots of comments with the same theory here. We can see people are very frustrated. We're frustrated because VAR again goes against us. What's happening here, John? Have they got their head in the textbook? And like Matt said there, actually, I've just seen another highlight. It looks even worse for me, the more I see it. But have they got it in the textbook in their head that the fact is he's not done it intentional, because who does? But the fact is, as we've spoken about, and I'm going to say it again, that there's another phase inside 3 seconds after that incident, and it's not directly impacted on the goal, and that's why it's not given as an overturning result on VAR.
I just don't know what the rule is anymore, to be honest, Kirk. I don't think really anyone can honestly tell you exactly what the handball rule is at the moment, because if the referee sees that, then surely he gives a handball, because it's not just that. Because I mentioned that it's within his silhouette. You mentioned that it's sort of like it's not in the phase that directly leads to the goal. But I think regardless, you can see that his hands move towards the ball. Like even like he's got them hanging as if he's got clutching a handbag in front of him. But his hands definitely, you can see them sort of move towards the ball. And I think as soon as you see that, it doesn't matter where his arms are.
Yeah.
It's a handball. And you've got to look back through the litany of decisions that are given and not given for handball over the last even couple of weeks, and go, if I showed you like that's not a handball, that's a handball, that's not a handball, that's a handball, that's not a handball. Right? What's the rule based on those decisions? You couldn't make it up. So I just don't know what the rule is anymore.
Matt, if that's a Manchester City defence that have just conceded that goal, does that get cancelled and changed in a VAR decision?
Well, I don't want to. Like I said, I've come on. I'm a bit upset. We're all a bit upset and a bit angry. So I don't want to start saying that we're being victimised and there's a witch hunt against Bournemouth, and they don't want us in the Premier League, and every decision is going to go against us. But you can't help but think that that's going to be. When I saw it, when Alan Smith on commentary, who was co-commentator tonight, straight away said, "Hang on a minute, this is probably going to be disallowed." And when you see it in the replay, you think to yourself. And I said to the missus sat there, I said, we've got away with one here because there's no way this gets given. Because you're looking at the replay and you're watching him volley the ball into the path of the goal, into attacker, which ends in a goal. And you're thinking, there's no way they can't overturn this. And somehow they haven't. So you have to question it, Kirk. Yeah.
We're going into a different world now as well. We spoke about this as well, where VAR plays such a prominent role now, John. Referees are actually afraid to make decisions because they're just hoping that VAR will come in and make the decision if it needs to be made. And referees are not really refereeing anymore, because if they do make the decision and they make a wrong decision that VAR could have overturned but didn't have the opportunity, they'll get penalised in their reviews. And it's getting ridiculous. I said this a few weeks ago, John. I said that I think we need to revert back to it being offsides only, goal line technology. That's fine. We'd still be frustrated by this. But I think if VAR didn't have this control to maybe overturn this, not overturn it, the referee may give that as a handball.
Yeah, I think
because he's refereeing the game.
We've mentioned it before that basically we want that really ideally you'd have subjective decisions are left to the referee on the pitch, and anything that is blatantly wrong is ruled out by VAR, and then you have the black and white decisions like goal line technology and the offsides are overturned hopefully automatically. Something like that, for most people, you would probably look at and just go, well, it's blatant. It's not even a close call. You just look at that and he's volleyed that ball back into play towards a teammate. Chris Mepham has cleared it, yes. And then from the returning ball in that's headed towards the goal, it flicks off Downs and then Zuma gets and puts it in the back of the net. But you just want it to be when it looks as blatant as that, you just want things to work. And then plenty of subjective stuff, like subjective decisions happens every day and every single match. That's fine. The referee's not perfect, and controversy happens with or without VAR. You just want the blatantly obvious decisions to go your way. Right. Okay. I'm done talking about VAR now.
So
to
I
be
was
honest,
going to say,
Matt, what did you think about the rest of them? What do you feel that Bournemouth are doing? Were you happy with generally how Bournemouth were performing there? Do you think? I mean, one of the big things for us is obviously Solanke has gone off injured, which is a huge loss. But even with Solanke, do you think that we're doing enough to try and get something from this game?
Well, I was just going to say, John, to be honest, let's not make it all about VAR, because I think that the first 45 minutes, yes, we've looked okay defensively and we've set up in the way we have, but going forward, once we come out of our own half, we can't string two passes together most of the time. It's not helping us, and the final product is abysmal. Let's be honest, from Tavernier. Shocking. Yes, he'll run all day. Yes, Christie will run about the pitch and he'll track back and he'll do all the legwork, and he'll offer 100% commitment and effort and work rate. But the final ball has been shocking. There's been no link play. There's no cohesion there. Lewis Cook's not having his best game. He's not covering himself in glory. Every time he seems to get himself on the ball and in possession, he seems to give it away. And we've been victims of our own, masters of our own downfall in many ways. And we've allowed, when we're up the pitch and we're looking progressive, it all breaks down far too quickly and we end up on the back foot where we're committing men forward. We're not able to show the quality. And I'm just surprised. I mean, the fact that we've got Adam Smith on the left-hand side, yes, from a defensive viewpoint, it keeps us solid enough, but it offers us nothing going forward. It doesn't give us a natural left footer. Where Jordan Zamora with his pace, Jadon Anthony, we're going to have to use those players now, because with Kiefer Moore on and Dom Solanke off, he is going to need those runners and those pacey players around him. And as much as Christie and Tavernier will run all day around him and run about like headless chickens at times, they're not offering any quality in the final third, and that's what's lacking, and that's what we do lack. And all too often, it's broken down when we've had moments to get forward, get men forward, string passes together, a bit of movement in the final third, and it's all been it's broken down far too easily. And West Ham are breaking; they're moving through the thirds far too easily themselves, and progressing towards our penalty area. Yes, we look solid, we look organised defensively in the main, but we're not offering enough, are we, going forward? And that's the main concern for me.
Matt, we might see you at full time. Thank you for your halftime thoughts. So try and enjoy the second half, a big half of football, and we'll speak to you later.
Lads. I will try. Good to talk to you both.
Cheers.
See you later, mate.
Few updates here for you. Mark Travers has come off the pitch. So has come on the pitch. Genuine injury for Neto there. The second half is about to kick off. Let's get your comments in the chat, John, because we do know that Gary O'Neill sets up Bournemouth more to try and not lose, and now he's got to try and get something in the second half. There's an injury to Dom Solanke that we know about, so Kiefer Moore's already come on for him. And Paul has spoken about the likes of Anthony and Jay-Z potentially at Gary O'Neill's disposal, but we've got to change our approach now, John, because we've got to try and get back in this football match. No matter how we feel about the game, how we feel about that goal, it's gone, it's done. We can moan about it until the cows come home, but we've got to try and score a goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I was just looking at the setup that we started there when pass from Tavernier that was good to Billing, but he doesn't stretch out a leg to receive it. Senesi now battling with Skamaka does pretty well there, clears it nicely up the pitch. Was just looking at how we were setting up from the goal kick there. We had from the kickoff, we had Philip Billing at left back to deal with the long ball if it happened, and it avoided him. And then Christie was playing at right back essentially when the kickoff was played. So, and he switched it nicely over to the left, but we didn't make anything of that of a possible overload we could have forced. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting thing of O'Neill's chops on his plan B, because not having Solanke is absolutely huge. And you now have to play around Kiefer Moore. And a Kiefer Moore, Philip Billing front two isn't great in terms of there's no real pace. Billing will run in behind, but I don't know how good Kiefer Moore hasn't really linked up with pretty much anyone that he's played with so far this season all that well. Started decently against Villa, but not much else. Just watching now, Skamaka's on the ball, takes a long shot, gets blocked by Senesi as he turns. And we win the ball back relatively high up the pitch. Christie's taking on his man and goes over far too easily and is tackled by Kara. Yeah, I would like to see the likes of Zamora come on, but I think when you've got Rothwell as available on the bench, you've got Stanislas, you've got other players that, although I've just picked out two again that barely have any minutes, you've taken Dembele out of the game of the match. Pearson's now on the bench in his place. Zamora is one of the first names you think about. Zamora and Anthony are the first two names you think about when you think about players that can come off and have an impact. And now that Moore's already come onto the pitch, who's probably the first one you'd think of, but he's already on. And he's got to deal with powerhouses in Zuma and Kara.
West Ham are in possession of the ball early on. 48 minutes gone, 3 minutes in this second half. West Ham are down the left with Cresswell in possession, playing down the line, looking for Ben Rama, who wins it from Fredericks into the box for Skamaka. Well defended by Smith.
Yeah, Smith.
Good defending. Declan Rice has the ball for West Ham, and they're now looking to get down the right-hand side with Bowen, who will look to cross. Mepham with the header. Ben Rama wins the second ball. We give the ball away, and Ben Rama is looking to place the ball in the box. Declan Rice just outside. Cresswell from the left. Whipped in. Too much. Still in play, though, with Tavernier. We have 10 players very deep in our half, and Kiefer Moore is our furthest man forward with no one within 30 yards of him. And I don't know. This game will change. Football matches do. It does change. It peaks and troughs. West Ham are at the moment on top. They're on the ball. Ben Rama's got space in the centre. 1-2. Well, get Samaka involved. You get Soucek involved, and they're back out on the right-hand side. And we're watching a lot of the football at the moment, John, and we've got to make sure we don't concede a second in the next 3 or 4 minutes.
Well, yeah, not conceding a second at all is going to be one of the big priorities. It was at least good to see in that situation there when we were defending very deep. If Ben Barber puts in a ball in and it's just goes past everyone. Good defending from Billing, actually tracking Soucek back, who's very important to keep an eye on. Soucek, I've heard Soucek being described as a box player. He's not a box-to-box player. He is only anything in both boxes and doesn't really do anything outside of it when in the rest of the 80% of the pitch. So really good work from Billy there to track him back. Kiefer Moore battling well, but unfortunately he chests it down to Declan Rice. What we need is, and what I saw at least, is that when we were defending very deep there and the ball was hoiked long cleared by Tavernier, you had Kiefer Moore still quite high up. He wasn't coming as deep as Solanke has been, but he wasn't right on the defenders, nor does he have to be. But he pulled away from the defenders right into the middle of the pitch, and Tavernier pumps it long as nowhere near Kiefer Moore. When we clear it, we need to try and get it to him to help him hold up the ball.
Tavernier giving possession away on the left, Billing trying to win it back. Lerma was held back by the referee there, couldn't actually get to the ball because the referee was in the way. Tavernier, Billing loses that battle, and West Ham are moving forward again with Scamacca, who looks for the switch, gets the switch on with Ben Rama. Cresswell's getting forward, underlap, and it's a shot by Ben Rama over the top.
30 yards out, didn't need to take it from that far out. Bit of a waste.
This is going to be a key moment for us in about 10 minutes' time. Mark Collins says we need to attack now. Next 10 minutes.
We are losing. So, we do need to do that.
I mean, look, Gary O'Neill's not going to make us too expansive too soon. But I think about another 10 minutes, and we're going to need to get the likes of Jaden Anthony and Jon Spark into this game. We're going to need to get something going down the right-hand side. I think Christie's very close to being substituted in this game unless he starts to up his performance. And Kiefer Moore gives away possession.
Nice pass from Lewis Cook, but
it's a quick turnover by West Ham every time they win it. They've now got Scamacca one-on-one with Senesi. Mepham covers Senesi though. Scamacca, he's doing well to hold the ball up here for West Ham. A lot of money they paid for him. And he's linking play here. Ben Rama, another shot. This one wide of the goal. They're pulling a lot of shots away at the moment. None are hitting the target. Mark Travers hasn't been worked yet.
A lot of shots from range.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of shots from range. I don't, I say they're doing a lot of shots from range. Ben Rama is taking a lot of shots from range because that is his style.
None of them are coming close as we speak yet. Mepham. Deep in our half from goal kick to Ryan Fredericks. Miscontrolled, nearly lost it.
That's so frustrating.
Kept it. Lewis Cook on the ball. Matt Davies wants a little bit more from Lewis Cook in this second half with Jeff Lerma spreading it left. Smith passing it to Tavernier. But, there's your point there, John. Smith gives it to Tavernier, but there's no... We know it's not going to happen, but there's no ambition to then go and get involved for a second ball or a 1-2. He just plays it to Tavernier and stands exactly where he passed it.
I mean, it's not too different from what he was doing on the right-hand side last season.
Yeah.
He didn't really overlap much then either, but we could do a lot more on our own.
Trying to get possession.
We were more dominant in that team.
Trying to get back on the ball here, trying to just relieve a bit of pressure that we were under in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second half, but nearly give it away again. Lewis Cook on the ball. We're passing the ball in areas at the moment that's not going to hurt West Ham, though. They're comfortable with us having the ball where we've had it. Philip Billing over to the left.
Nice ball from Senesi there, pinging it wide to Philip Billing, who controls it well.
To Senesi.
Plays it to Billing again on the ground this time.
And now, when you've got Kiefer Moore in the box, we need to start opening ourselves up down that side and start whipping something in there.
Yep. Lerma's 30 yards out. Pass it to Lewis Cook. Simple.
Christie's off the wing. Ryan Fredericks is our widest player at the moment. Christie's tucked inside. That is a poor pass.
What the hell was that
outside of the foot by Ryan Christie, and Gary O'Neill in the next 4 or 5 minutes needs to seriously consider changing this. And as I speak,
Jay-Z and J.A.
Jordan Zamora and Jaden Anthony have got their training kits off. They've got their kits on. They've got their tops off, and they are ready to come on. And you're going to see that partnership of last season that was so effective for us in our promotion going to come on the pitch. And I expect Tavernier to go over to the right. I am expecting Christie to come off this pitch.
Yeah, possibly.
And potentially Fredericks.
Well, what was frustrating there in the build-up, and Lerma's just lost the ball, tried to win it back, but a foul has been given, and Lerma is got a yellow card. And he's been pretty good at not getting yellow cards this season, but he gave the ball away far too easily there. What was frustrating there was a nice ball that was played in from Senesi to Lerma, got himself about 30 yards out, and there was no one coming to close him down. He had quite a bit of space to maybe look for a pass, maybe even take a shot. We know that Lerma likes a shot. And
that could be a red. If that goes to VAR, that could be a red. That's a poor challenge.
He's out of control there.
So Lerma has made a poor tackle there. His right foot is way off the ground. It's a yellow card currently. I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised.
He's kind of.
It's not a great challenge.
I think he's
that one.
Are they playing on?
Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
VAR check.
he's got lucky with that one.
That-
I think that
they told us that that's evening it out.
Sure they have. That's a good ball from Ben Rama down for Cresswell. Crosses it in, headed comfortably by Mepham. Mepham's there again.
Mepham.
Not a very good cross, but well dealt with. Just stay with this play. Rice puts it over the top on the right to Bowen, who crosses it first time with his weaker foot, and Travers pounces on it quite nicely. What I was mentioning before was Lerma ends up on the ball about 30 yards out from goal with a pass that breaks their forward press from Senesi. And Lerma ends up with a decent amount of space with no one pressing him. And rather than try and push forward or look forward, and this is something I've noticed about Lerma, he just passed it sideways to Cook. He's not very adventurous with his passes. He's very frequently just plays it backwards when he gets a one time. When he's unsure and he's not quite certain about what's around him, he might be in loads of space, but if he's not sure, he'll always play a first time pass backwards. And at that time, he had loads of space and loads of opportunity to do something, passed it right to Lewis Cook. And in that time, a midfielder came out to deal with him. And then Lewis Cook plays it to Christie. Poor first touch, terrible second touch. And it's Fredericks that's come off and Zamora's on. So that will be Smith coming over to the right-hand side. And then I'm going to gather that it was Christie because Tavernier's gone to the right, as you said. Yeah. Tavernier's gone to the right-hand side. Christie's come off for Jaden Anthony. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, we have a similar issue in that we've got, again, Smith and Tavernier are the same partnership on one side of the pitch. But again, Tavernier is going to be expected to do a hell of a lot and Smith won't press forward at all. It's just that this time Smith won't go forward on the right-hand side instead of him not going forward on the left-hand side.
It's another poor free kick. Unnecessary challenge from Mepham this time on Skamaka. And it's another soft free kick. And Tavernier is the latest Bournemouth player to be on the ground by the touchline. I'm just looking at it now. Not sure. Oh, ankle. Now, this could be a serious injury because that's a roll.
We'll see. We'll see. It's a slip. I mean, yes, it's just he doesn't catch the ground properly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could be something that ends his game. But I reckon he'll probably run that one off. It's not quite as bad as him really rolling his foot. I think it was he put his studs in between where the pitch ends and the AstroTurf starts, and he doesn't quite grab the AstroTurf. His studs don't grab the AstroTurf, and he goes over, and he might have done himself a bit of damage, but hopefully he'll just run that off.
He is hobbling at the moment, trying to run it off. The thing is, if he has done that type of injury and it's a slight ligament injury or anything like that, that's going to be painful to turn on and change direction. He could be in danger here. Stanislas might be warming up down the touchline because there's no Dembele. Potentially Rothwell can come into this game for Tavernier, but Tavernier doesn't look comfortable. It's not really a great performance from Tavernier again, but it's another tough game for the Cherries. And those pre-match predictions from Hammer's Chat going for a 2-0. They're currently 1-0 up. Substitutions have been made by Bournemouth to try and change the situation. And 58 minutes on the clock. This is sort of something that does sort of annoy me at times, John, is we've sort of set up now how I probably would like to have set up initially. I know it's easy to say that now, but I think we could have still be competitive when you've spoken about Jay-Z not being that bad at defending, because to the eye, some people think that he has been quite bad at defending. He gets caught quite high up the pitch sometimes and exposes the centre-backs.
But Fredericks does as well.
Yeah,
Fredericks gets high up the pitch and he gets caught on that side. People will just have a preconception about Zamora at the moment. In the same way they had one about Mepham, which he is well and truly dismantling that preconception.
It does sort of wind me up. I suppose maybe because I was an attacker when I played, it sort of winds me up that you make these substitutions when you're losing, when actually you could have had this type of lineup initially. But it's a pragmatic approach that Gary O'Neill has.
And he is a pragmatic manager.
He is. Definitely. He's trying to protect that.
Above all things,
Absolutely.
He would rather keep a solid defence than he would necessarily expand.
It's like, when you lose in 1-0 and you think, make changes. And then you wait till your team goes 2-0 down, then you make the changes. And it's like, why couldn't you have made those changes at 1-0?
Well, I mean, the last two games we've been 1-0 down. We haven't got to 2-0.
No. But I'm talking in general, when you watch managers like that who could make, there's chance here for West Ham. Skamaka inside the box, lays it to Bowen.
Great block by Mepham again.
Great block from Mepham. Bowen only on one goal this season. And Ben Rama, who's had a lot of ball in this game, is in possession again. Cresswell with an overlap, crosses it. Mepham again. We're talking about Mepham, Declan Rice from range. Travers pushes away, could have held it.
I don't think he's holding that.
Ben Rama
There's
has
a lot
the
of
ball.
pace on that shot.
Every time we clear the ball, it comes back within moments. And Ben Rama on the left, they're having a lot of success down this right-hand side. Cresswell's looking for the run again. Ben Rama ignores that one. It's now with Downs. And West Ham are sort of recycling this play out to the right-hand side with Johnson. Declan Rice getting involved. Captain of West Ham, Jon Zamora getting his first touch, but he gives away a free kick. I'm just talking in general.
That's not a terrible foul to give away at all. Yeah. I think that the Travers one, it looked like he moved at the last second because I think this was relatively down his throat, but then he just it looked like he kind of was a bit unsure. But no, that's a sensible.
I ain't gonna call that.
Huh?
I think you could have caught that.
Do you want to take that risk?
Well, no,
when
he's carried it away.
When it's spinning like that, with the pace that it's hit at, you have been watching football in the last 5 years, haven't you, Kirk?
Of course, look,
he's not holding that one.
Fair enough. He's carried it away, but I'm just saying if you catch it, you hold possession. But fair enough.
Yeah, but if you let it slip through your hands, it's a goal, and that's why and that's why they don't catch those anymore.
Mark Travers here.
He's done most of his good by blocking shots rather than necessarily holding on to them. But
goal kick to Bournemouth, by the way. Declan Rice.
Zamora's foul that he gave away was a free kick was curled in, but it was miles away from anyone, and it goes straight out for a goal kick, which is very nice. Kiefer Moore contesting a header. Zamora wins it above him, but Lewis Cook goes in and wins the ball back, but it goes out for a West Ham throw. Kiefer Moore has been down on the ground. Mepham doing a really good job there of just preempting that throw.
Kiefer Moore went for a header, and I think he's landed awkwardly. He stayed down for a few moments. He's back up now, but he's hobbling, and this could be another ankle. We'll see if it shows a replay, but he's gone for the header, and it's your notorious landing of an ankle turn.
Oh, lovely ball across.
Not quite making it. If this is another ankle injury to AFC Bournemouth, then I think we need to start questioning the London Stadium pitch. Jay-Z on the ball. Jaden Anthony to the left. Linking up for the first time. Billing to run onto it. Doesn't get there. Zuma clears.
Skamaka battling with Zamora, Lerma rather. Lerma wins the ball quite well. Hold on to it. Don't play it quick. We've got a free kick about 40 yards out.
There might be nothing in that one, but Kiefer Moore went down as well. This is worrying signs for Bournemouth. We've got many games to go.
One of the most frustrating things about watching football is the producers far too often decide to cut to they cut to replays when they have no need to, and you completely miss out what the hell just happened. We took that free kick, and they were still showing a replay of the foul, and we have no idea what actually happened, but it ended up with the keeper. Now Ben Rama tries to put a cross in, and Smith has put it out for a corner.
We're not dealing with Ben Rama down this. Well, we are dealing with him.
He hasn't really done anything.
We are. Well,
he hasn't really done anything.
Yeah,
he's had a lot of the ball, but he's not really done anything.
Yeah, but what I mean is that's where the threat's coming.
Yeah,
it's Cresswell and Ben Rama are linking up well down there, and every opportunity they're trying to get it down the left-hand side.
I'm more worried about Cresswell getting good crosses in, but he hasn't really put them in yet at the moment.
63 minutes gone. A corner to West Ham. Have we registered a corner yet? We hadn't earlier on, but Skamaka's being marked by Lewis Cook.
I mentioned that in the first half.
Yeah, again. It's cleared this time by Lerma. This is a long shot from Ben Rama.
Senesi jumps to header that away. Well done.
And we are dealing with the latest pressure, but this game ticks on. Minutes are becoming less, and we still need to find an equaliser in this football match. It's gone out for a goal kick now, just like Jon said.
There was a throw in there for West Ham, and now it's a Bournemouth goal kick, and we have no idea what happened. Producers need to learn to do their job.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really fed up with replays continuing to get shown of non-events and us missing the actual football. It's absolutely ridiculous.
We've gone 150 minutes now without scoring a goal.
Come on. Moore has just had a foul given against him because Kara's ended up on the ground, and the stronger player should be allowed. So Kara unfortunately ends up with Moore's forearm around his neck, but Kara's ducking to look to power up for a jump and gets caught, and the foul's given. Lovely tackle by Jay-Z. Now Jaden Anthony is on the
attack.
ball. He plays the ball through to
5 players in this
Kiefer
attack.
Moore, who's tried to get it to
Keep
Billing.
it in, Bill. Keep it in, Bill. He's kept it in. Tavernier.
Play
Play it to Tavernier. Why are you not playing it to Tavernier? So Billing keeps the ball in play, has Tavernier unmarked.
Well, he's trying to pass. He's trying to get the cross into Kiefer Moore, which I understand, but just like give it time for other players to get into the box.
Does he not pass it to Tavernier there because he's seen him cross so many times?
Maybe. Tavernier was in a lot of space, and I think he was the most logical pass. But he was trying to get it to Kiefer Moore, which is fair enough because Tavernier doesn't try and get it to Kiefer Moore enough.
A great header by Chris Mepham.
Great touch by
Jaden Anthony getting himself in
by
this game.
Billing, and then Anthony heads it straight to a West Ham player who gives it straight to Adam Smith.
Chris Mepham, again, probably been a standout player so far in this game. Lots of blocks.
As per usual, with his blocks and headers and winning headers.
We look more comfortable as a back four. Lewis Cook on the ball in our own half, deep. Just
check our corner count.
We'll check our corner.
I think you mentioned that you don't think we've had one, and I don't think we've had one either.
Had any corners, and I'll just check it for you as we
Nope,
speak.
no
we
corners.
are yet to put any pressure.
But if you show that up on the screen,
we'll just watch this attack as
Tavernier is pushing through, but a really good tackle there by Souček. Yeah, really good tackle by Souček. Tavernier was progressing nicely there, but didn't do enough with it.
62% possession to West Ham, 38% to Bournemouth. West Ham have now registered 17 shots, but only 3 on target. Most of the off target have come through Ben Rama, but that's 5 corner kicks to West Ham and 0 corner kicks to Bournemouth. We're not being able to apply any pressure from a corner kick point of view, enabling us to get centre backs and Lerma in there to score a goal. These are going to limit our chances of equalising.
If you just scroll up, bit further. Keep going. There we go. So there's a graph of momentum. And if you see that Bournemouth have had very few moments where we've had any kind of authority on control of the match. In fact, this second half, if you show it up again, if you were showing that, see how massive that spike, the set of spikes is from about 60 minutes onwards. In the second half, where it's been relatively flat for a bit, although I think maybe the program wasn't working, because I don't think it was that even in the first 10 minutes of the second half. And then it's been all absolutely dominant by West Ham. And that is a familiar look this season for Bournemouth matches in terms of the momentum. That's got to be. Thank you.
That's a foul.
Kara fouling Kiefer Moore there, winning us a foul just inside the West Ham half.
And we are entering 22 minutes of normal time left for Bournemouth to find an equaliser. We do have a free kick just inside West Ham's half, and we need to apply pressure as we have Jaden Anthony and Jon Spark both in the final third at the moment. Senesi's also pushed up as well, currently on the ball. He plays it to Lerma, who's going to play and switch the play to the right through Mepham, now with Smith. Smith getting his head up. Looks for Phil Billing. He's floating around, but poor control. Is given possession away. Skamaka now on the attack, who keeps possession. Thought he's going to look for Beirama, but gives it away. Referee's having none of it. Jaden Anthony tucked inside off the left-hand side, gives possession away as well.
Out muscled by Rice very easily.
Yeah. And but it
was a very strong. It's a really strong. I mean, Billing, terrible control from a relatively simple pass. Actually, Ben Rama's on the attack now. He's coming inside, floats in, and blocked again by Mepham. Ball falls to Declan Rice as it ends up with Ben Rama. Kiefer Moore's powered down the left-hand side and puts in a lovely tackle against Ben Rama. I think he's once again getting fed up of his limited service and jumping deep to try and get involved.
We've gone from scoring 2 very good goals at Fulham. Could have got more on the day, but probably a fair result, a draw. And now we're entering a stage of 160 minutes roughly.
Yeah, but you've got to also consider, whilst I think the Southampton game was pretty terrible from Bournemouth, we did put some decent stats together, but we've talked endlessly already about how I think Gary O'Neill hampered us completely in that game. But in this match, you do have to consider this is a semi-finalist from the Europa League last season, and they're better than they were last year. West Ham should be absolutely battering us, but we should still be actually giving some level of account of ourselves. And I just feel, okay, you've got to also consider that there has been an injury to Solanke, but we are. Oh, who's given a yellow card there? I think that's Mepham for chatting back to the ref, because I don't think that was given to Tavernier or Smith. And I know
We can't tell you.
Mepham got into the referee's face quite a bit there. Yes, I was right.
There was a
no, he
replay, so
definitely
we
did.
couldn't tell you.
Well, no, it showed the yellow card, and I did see that Mepham got in the referee's face a bit quick there. It was a foul by Tavernier on Rice, I think it was. We mentioned it in the preview. West Ham have a lot of very good players. We're not at their level. We've got to just hope for stuff. Big Cresswell free kick, pings across, luckily falls to a Bournemouth player who clears it. Lerma's chasing out to Johnson, who keeps going down the right-hand side, chased by Jaden Anthony. Well dealt with by Senesi, who heads out to Lewis Cook. We have a counter-attack chance here if players push up quickly enough. Goes to Tavernier, who needs to play it wide a bit quicker. Lewis Cook gets it through to Kiefer Moore via Senesi, who plays it to Tavernier, who needs to play the ball. Passes it just about to Jaden Anthony, who can't really have a chance of getting it past Souček, but it falls to Jordan Zamora.
To release the ball to get into positive areas and unsettle that West Ham
Tavernier's
team.
Weaknesses.
And that's poorly given away by Jeff Lerma, who had a good first half, I thought. That was poorly given away. We're not unsettling this West Ham team. And when I say that, we're not going through the lines quick enough, and then we're not being able to put any pressure on them. And Tavernier's holding on the ball too long. I think he's guilty of that at times. You've got Kiefer Moore deeper than some of our midfielders. We've got Senesi currently ahead of Lerma and Lewis Cook.
Right, he's just taking the ball and run with it. He's got fed up with not having passes available to him, and he's just dribbled past two players and got fouled by a third. So that's what Senesi is very much capable of. That's what we knew he did a lot when he was at PSV.
Antonio's coming on the pitch as well.
Yeah, you mentioned being afraid of him before, but like I said, I'm not overly worried too much. I mean, I
don't think he's a great finisher. I just think he's a handful.
Yeah, that's true. But free kick now, we're putting into the box from Lewis Cook from very deep, looking for Kiefer Moore, who heads it back across the goal. And Lerma got a slight nick on it, but it was a difficult opportunity. I think he'll be disappointed he didn't do better with that. But that was something of a half chance.
He would have had to got a lot on the header. He's probably disappointed he's not hit the target, to be fair. It's headed back towards goal from Kiefer Moore, and Lerma is definitely ahead of Cresswell.
He just times it wrong.
Yeah.
He just times it slightly wrong.
Change coming here for West Ham. It's Scamacca for Antonio. That's like for like change. And this is a different type of striker that Chris Mepham and Senesi are going to have to deal with, as Antonio will put himself about and he'll use his strength and his body, as we've spoken about. He's been a strong player for West Ham over the years. Someone who came from the lower leagues.
Nottingham Forest, of course, is where he made more of his name. Comment here from Extra Special. Very late in the season, West Ham are a quality team. They can beat anyone on their day. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, in our preview, I don't know, whether when you joined us for long, actually, we'll just hold it there because Billings on the ball high up the pitch, but he's holding on to it too long and all momentum has disappeared. Ball's with Senesi, who plays it through, is trying to find Kiefer Moore, but he was well offside. And he's saying, he was pointing, just get it wide and they can cross it in for me. You don't need to play it 50 yards down the middle of the pitch. West Ham have been better than us, been far better than us, and we kind of expected that. I mentioned in the preview, I expected us to have to sit deep and try and get what we can on the counter. Our attackers have fed off scraps this season, even when we've played half decent, and we're playing against a very good side in West Ham today. So a side that has been in something of a false position, although they haven't had the greatest start to the season. They've been a little bit unlucky, and they've also, they're a much better defence than their position gives them credit for. And yes, going away, any point is good. If we lose to West Ham away from home, that's merely hitting the norm. It's not the end of the world. We just would like to see Bournemouth just give a better account of themselves. And I think we are going to need more investment in January, without a doubt, which we will get with the takeover yet to go through, but will happen soon. And along with that, we need a manager set in that's going to be able to get the most out of these players, which I think that for a time O'Neill has done. He isn't going to be able to keep going forever. And after a good unbeaten run, with this game we're losing, our next game is against Tottenham, and we've got game which we also probably wouldn't expect to get much of, but you never know, we're at home. After that, we've got Leeds, which we desperately need something from, and Everton, which we really need something. Everton at home, Leeds away, which we hope to get something from, and Everton at home, which we definitely need to get something from. So yeah, the quicker we get to January, the better.
Ian has said, from open play, where are the goals going to come from? Look, it's a good question, Ian. And the goals have dried up since that Fulham first half. So yeah, we've gone even longer than I actually suggested earlier on, not scoring, and that is mainly due to the pragmatic manager we currently have in charge that's setting us up not to lose. But we're currently losing this game, and we need to be a little bit more proactive, which we are at the moment with Jayden Anthony. Philip Billings now come across to the right, crossed it, but it's it's a challenge there, and the ref has probably given a free kick. He's given the advantage to the goalkeeper. Lerma went in for the challenge. It was an out to in cross from Tavernier. Billing, an out to in cross from Billing. Lerma challenge. I mean, Lerma's eyes are on the ball.
Yeah, it's a foul,
but it's probably a foul. Unless we show a little bit more ambition in these football matches earlier on, then these are going to be hard to break down teams. It's the same thing as Southampton. Once they've got something to hold on to, West Ham are a better team than Southampton, mind. But once they've got something to hold on to, it's going to be very hard to break them down. And we've lost Dom Solanke, who's our number one striker. We've not got the likes of Dembele, who can bring real pace into this team, because he's put Ben Pearson in the side, because he's hoping to maybe bring him on later on if we nick the first goal. That's unfortunately what we've got at the moment with Gary O'Neill as interim manager. And I struggle to see where a goal's coming in this game with 13 minutes left of normal time. But you never know. When you don't apply pressure and get corners, you limit your chances of scoring.
Yeah.
And that's currently what's happening in this game. Jayden Anthony on the ball. Jordan Zamora picks up the ball and he's getting up the pitch. This is what he does. Very isolated at the moment, though. Goes back towards Jayden Anthony. Gives the ball away. Did he keep it in? No, he didn't. And that is a throw-in.
I think you got to look at that was the moment where I'd sort of point out Rice's game intelligence there. Yeah. It's not hard to do, but you see Zamora was going up a blind alley. And
wow,
blimey,
Antonio's going
down a bit. And what were you saying about Senesi and Antonio?
That's true.
That John Zamora was kind of going up a blind alley. He had Johnson in front of him and could only turn backwards, and Rice jumped on him, absolutely pounced on what the inevitable turn back from Jordan Zamora. I mentioned Paul saying this ref, for flip's sake, that Lerma one was a foul.
RWC says, I wonder if we can snatch Diaz from Blackburn in January, perhaps loan Lowe out back to them. I mean, look, Jamal Lowe, we forget about him nowadays because we don't see him on the squad sheet. But I think Diaz is a good striker. We haven't seen him at this level, but I don't think he's any better potentially than what we've got, apart from, yes, he can finish, but it is a bit of a punt.
Yes, but I would say that, and we've just, there's just been a silly foul from a West Ham player. I think Kara has just barged into, well, it might have been Cresswell actually, barged into Moore's back and gone down about 25-ish yards from goal. So we've got a good opportunity to whip the ball in from wide here. The thing is, I'd say that right now, with the players that we have got available, in this game with the last 10 minutes to go, I would want to have a right footer on the right and a left footer on the left and whip the ball into Billing and Moore. Free kick just played in from Lewis Cook wasn't great.
Tavernier on
but
possession.
We have got it back for Tavernier, who's
out to in cross, poor.
But we'll keep hold of that. Lerma will pick that up after Rice's clearance.
10 minutes left of normal time. We're in possession with Chris Mepham. A couple of chances to put the ball in the box, find a Bournemouth player. Didn't happen. Lerma's on the left-hand side. He's looking for someone to pass to. Goes back all the way to Chris Mepham. We'll go back to Travers. who has come on for Neto in this game. We've also had Christie go off for Jaden Anthony. Jordan Zamora has come on for Fredericks. Adam Smith started on the left, is now playing right fullback. And we've got Lewis Cook in the centre of the park.
He's not had a good game, Lewis Cook. He's trying. What I will definitely give him is that he is trying to play passes, which is not what I can say for Lerma, although he works incredibly hard, and we all love Jefferson Lerma. He's not adventurous with his passing. Lewis Cook is the only one of the two that's going to create anything. I mean, obviously, Lewis Cook put up his best creative numbers against Southampton, creating 5 chances in that game. But I've been impressed with Jaden Anthony. He's come on and pulled inside and found some attacking positions. Ball goes into the box there, comes to Jaden Anthony, Jordan Zamora, who was trying to chest it down, is claiming a handball off Johnson. There were a few shouts from Bournemouth players there. Be interesting to see that one back. I would be surprised if that one gets given. I couldn't see it from the angle on the TV screen, but play carries on, and Tavernier is now with the ball on the right-hand side facing up Ben Rama. Ball goes back to Lewis Cook and plays it across to Jefferson Lerma, who's looking for a pass, shifts it out to Jordan Zamora, who just about keeps it under control. Zamora plays it back to Lerma, who's looking for a ball, plays it long to Moore, but it's too short, easily cut out. Billing wins it back, though, does well. Can't keep it under control. Hoisted clear. Senesi now has the ball, plays it through to Jordan Zamora, who doesn't do well enough to keep hold of the ball. Anthony wins it back. Lerma's playing it through again. Almost reached Billing, but Zuma cut it out, and the ball has been knocked clear. Kurt?
There was an opportunity to get Jaden Anthony in space on the left-hand side, but Lerma tried to pick out Kiefer Moore. The problem with that pass was it didn't have a lot of power on it. It's quite central.
He's playing it from central. He's crossing the ball from the middle of the pitch.
Moore's going to have to do something quite special to score a goal in that moment, and he didn't really have a chance. And Jaden Anthony was frustrated in that first opportunity that the ball didn't go out to him left, and then there's an opportunity to fizz a real ball in to Kiefer Moore.
That's what Kiefer Moore wants. Kiefer Moore wants it to go wide so the ball can be crossed in to give him an actual decent angle to attack it from.
West Ham changing the tempo of this fixture. They'll take a 1-0 at this rate, as they've got Zuma on the ball, switching out to Johnson on the right. Bowen gives the ball away again, and his season has not improved in this game. He's had an average start to his Premier League campaign, and who knows whether he'll go to England and the World Cup.
Not at this rate.
No,
hope not.
Jordan Zamora in possession on the left, cutting in from the left to Lewis Cook, getting his head up. West Ham have every player behind the ball at the moment. Smith goes back to Senesi, Mepham, now Senesi. Lerma's come wide. Senesi drives through with the ball. Lerma's tries
to get it through to Moore, but it's a bit. He takes too much off it, and it's intercepted. Lerma looks like he's huffing a little bit. Tavernier's still got plenty of pace to burn.
Ben Rama
against Smith. Ball's not very good. Ball didn't go out of play apparently. Zamora's now being tracked by Bowen. He clears it, and it's going out for a Bournemouth throw in.
Is there 7 minutes to go? Is there anything else Gary O'Neill can do in this game? We criticise Gary O'Neill for bringing on Stanislas.
Just showing this replay again of that close, it's not going to be given.
When it's that
close, it's
not
going to be given. Don't
start that. That's close. I mean, the only difference with that is his arms are within his body.
Yeah, it's right arm down my side.
His left arm because I think some of the decisions that have gone against us were quite close. I mean, you're talking about split seconds. Dom Solanke is currently on the subs bench. He's changed already. He looks in pain. And that's not a great sight for AFC Bournemouth to see Dom Solanke come off this game. And we'll have to find out what the news of that will be in the next couple of days as we go ahead towards Tottenham. Jaden Anthony on the ball.
We got forward nicely, but didn't have any options in the middle, so we had to come backwards.
Every time we sort of get any sort of momentum.
Lerma forward. I thought he was going to shoot there.
Tavernier,
did a dummy, came back.
No lap from Smith. Goes back to Smith, though. Billing trying to win the header. Does win the header. Jaden Anthony had a lot to do.
Yeah, shot on target, I guess.
Had a lot to do. Wasn't really troubling Fabianski. Philip Billing headed the ball back towards the penalty spot. Jaden Anthony won the header, looping header, but didn't trouble Fabianski. There was a chance there for Tavernier to get on the ball. No overlap from Smith. Ended up just going back to him. And that sort of what we're dealing with at the moment as we're watching this game as Bournemouth fans. Lewis Cook on the ball down the left. He continues
Lewis
to
Cook's
go.
got
He's
past
done
two
very well.
players.
Zuma's going to
good side
intercept
tackle.
this. And we've got to show, I mean, do we throw a centre-back up very soon? Do we throw Senesi up there to cause havoc, you know? We've got to do something soon, maybe. Very, very soon.
I mean, you'd rather go
Time's
all
running
out to get a draw and lose 2-0 than not try to get the draw.
Yeah.
And West Ham are sitting much deeper than they have all game.
Yeah.
Tavernier with a slightly loose touch.
Royce
can't get the ball.
We spoke off air about our watch-along record. We haven't actually looked back at it, but we did have a bit of a concern, didn't we?
Yeah. A little bit of one. I mean, to be fair, this season we're far more likely to come up with bad games or not do well. Great combination between Anthony and Zamora. Zamora's down the left-hand side. He's getting past Johnson. He cuts back, and then rather than crosses it, he plays it to Billing, who plays it to Anthony, who puts it to Zamora again. Billing, Zamora trying to combine, but Johnson does really well to read that.
Why does he not cross it?
Well, the thing is that once he cuts back, he's on his weaker foot. And he's not very good on his right foot. But at the same time, he could have done something there. Senesi does win the ball back after Lerma loses out. Senesi back on the ball. He's taking on one, taking on two. Plays a nice pass to Adam Smith, who should be crossing it, but he doesn't. Plays it back to the middle of the pitch, and Lewis Cook, who plays it across to Jordan Zamora, who's closed down, but he needs to play that long good. He plays it up the line to Billing. Billing plays it back to Jaden Anthony from that position. Good. Tries to get it to Billing, but doesn't. It's a delicate pass, but he puts a little bit too much on it. I was hoping he would recreate his goal from the Betway Cup, but it wasn't really on. But that type of ball is exactly what Anthony is capable of, which makes him different to a lot of players of similar stature, similar type to him. You see Anthony and you expect him to be a pacey dribbler, and he's not really that good of a dribbler, but he's a very intelligent on the ball, and he plays those passes very well. He's different to what we've got. He tries more. Because Tavernier doesn't try that pass. Christie definitely doesn't try that pass. Admittedly, they're both left-footed. They're never going to try it on their right foot. But put it on the other side of the pitch. Christie doesn't try that pass. No. And neither does Tavernier.
Substitutions for West Ham.
Downs coming off.
Downs is coming off. And I think it will be Fornals. Kufau is also coming on the pitch as well. So there's two changes for West Ham as they try to see this game out. Currently 1-0.
Bowen off.
Bowen's gone off again,
so that'll be
for West Ham, and they are three.
They're playing a Tyndall.
Maybe
is it a Parker playing two right backs on the right hand side. I think it's more of a. Is that more of a? No, it's a Woodgate move, isn't it? That's a Woodgate move. Wasn't that time he had two left backs on the left and two right backs on the right at the end of a game at one point? Yeah, I think that was a Woodgate move.
We've had some weird times since anybody's left. So, and we are closing in on a second consecutive loss after that unbeaten run under Gary O'Neill. But he has struggled to turn the game around against Southampton, and he's struggling tonight as Antonio gets himself into the box at Kufau, crosses. There's a handball claim here from Zamora. His arm is up. Is he in the box? Is he in the box?
He was.
Is he in the box?
He was. His arm was up.
He is in the box. And I'm telling you what,
that could be a penalty. That'll be a penalty.
If we look at other decisions that have gone against us, that could be a penalty.
They'll give that as a penalty. But the thing is, that is what should be given as a penalty. Because his arms, you can't see me. His arm's there.
Yeah, this is going to be given as a penalty.
VAR are checking it, and it's going to be a penalty. And you can't do that.
But how
you just can't. But
can he slide with? Can he? I mean,
yes, you can. You need to train yourself to do it. You can go in without raising your arm because yes, you want to try and slow yourself down, but put your arm down and try and brush your arm against the ground to try and just leverage your position. But as soon as you go diving in like that, and both of his arms are up, he's just asking for it. It's so frustrating.
VAR are looking at a possible penalty, handball against Jordan Zamora. Antonio fed through Kufau. Jordan Zamora went down to slide, but his arms were up. They were up. He'll
Yeah,
probably
they've
claim
confirmed it's correct. They're just checking for offside, but there's no offside. It's a handball.
it's going to be a penalty to West Ham.
It's a penalty. The ref's being asked to go see it, but he's going to change his mind within one or two
Now,
viewings.
West Ham got a penalty against Liverpool in their last fixture, and they missed it. Although the player that missed that penalty was Jared Bowen, who's gone off the pitch. I think Antonio might have this.
Probably, yeah.
We're going into injury time.
Man
There'll
of
be
Grain
some time.
21. It'll be a penalty for West Ham. We're talking about one of our players, our left back, Jon Spark, has attempted to block a cross from Kufal, who has his arms up, and it hits his left arm, which is in an L shape to the side
Here he
and above
goes.
his body, and he has given a penalty.
It's a penalty to West Ham.
Yeah, that's a penalty all day. I don't have an issue with that being given as a penalty, because I think that under pretty much any recent penalty ruling of handball, that's definitely a penalty. But it's the thing is that the less consistent things or the less clear decisions haven't been consistent.
Ben Rama's going to have the penalty, not Antonio.
Yeah, he'll smash that in the corner.
Against Super Mark Travers, who hasn't played football.
What's his penalty record? I don't think it's great.
No, he hasn't saved a penalty.
No.
That's something I talked about in a video in pre-season about Mark Travers, that he didn't save any penalties last season. Phase 3.
We need to bring in a specialist then, don't we?
Yeah, here we go. We need Boric. Here we go from Ben Rama.
Yeah,
and it's a great penalty. Sent Mark Travers the wrong way. That is West Ham 2, Bournemouth 0, and that will be game over, John.
Yep.
Not done enough in the game, have we, really?
No,
I think
should have put something on that 2-0. Yeah, it's look, the thing, I think this is a game that we'll just be able to just move on from, because, okay, when I say move on, as in you look at the result and you go, newly promoted side, going to West Ham, losing 2-0. They didn't make many chances, but they got a penalty, quite rightly, and scored it. They got a other iffy decision and scored it. 2-0 doesn't surprise you. And yeah, it's just blatantly obvious.
I suppose some will say this game should be 1-0 right now, though.
I mean, well, the thing is, if you don't give that first one, we don't then set up in the way that we have. Zamora isn't trying to run back and block that ball. And okay, yes, it does play out differently. Interesting one from Spurs Fan Society there.
We'll leave that one in the chat.
We won't put that up on the screen. But what I would like O'Neill, because he's going to get the next 3 games. What is it? So what's our last game before
Everton?
It is Everton. So we've got Spurs, Leeds, then Everton.
Yeah.
Is our last 3 games.
Now,
before...
I was thinking that we hold on until the World Cup, but the last 2 games, I mean, I don't think any new manager will probably be able to influence Tottenham. We're not going to do anything in that time between now and Tottenham. But the bounce has gone.
Yeah.
The Gary O'Neill approach is very much alive, and we can see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the early indication from Bournemouth fans that wanted Gary O'Neill, I would probably expect them now to be thankful that he's not been given their full-time job. I think we all want Gary O'Neill as part of the team, but I think...
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at your thing. I'm just like your comments at the start before. You were like, you were really glad that Antonio didn't play because you thought he might get the better of Senesi. Senesi's just battered him again off the ball.
It's good to see. It's good to see.
It shows,
it's good to see. He's had 70 minutes to work.
I'm just glad I've been proven correct about Senesi, and that he only needs to warm up to the league, and he would thrive, and he has done.
It's good to see. Do you know what? Bill Foley's on the verge of taking over Bournemouth. Look, we're going to do a match reaction, actually, because we will be talking about this game. Do stay with us. We'll have a quick break at full time. It's 94 minutes and 15 seconds at the moment. There was +4 added on, but that went into...
Final whistle will be going any second now.
Injury time for the VAR decision. Tavernier's on the ball. Do stay with us, because we'll get full-time reaction maybe from the stadium. We'll definitely have Matt Davies come back and give his match reaction thoughts, because this is going to be another loss for Bournemouth and another game we haven't scored, and we'll be heading into another fixture on Saturday versus Tottenham. 94 minutes, 40 seconds gone, but this is going to be interesting times.
Final whistle
has gone. Full time in the Premier League. It is West Ham 2, Bournemouth 0. John, we're going to have a proper full-time reaction in a bit, but your instant reaction to that result, which was
yeah.
I mean, we probably didn't do enough in this game to win it, obviously. No. Did we do enough in it to draw it? No, but
no.
we were probably done at half time after that.
Yeah,
after that
we can certainly look at that first decision and just look at how VAR just really has not gone for us this season at all. I don't think we've had a single VAR decision that's actually gone our way this season. Every single, even the ones that a referee has been asked to go to the screen to give something our way, he's then reversed that decision and not gone by what was recommended by the VAR officials. Gary O'Neill is not happy. I can say he's been pulled away from the referees with as well. Oh right, okay, that doesn't surprise me. But I think you can always pin something on the big decisions within a game, and I do think that it's very true when they talk about football being a game of moments. You have to be good in the most important moments in the game. And today, there were only 2 moments. West Ham didn't really create much of anything except for the goal and then the penalty, which was correctly given as a penalty. But we still didn't do very much in this game. We didn't make anything happen, and that's the frustrating thing. But we will have a proper reaction, a proper review of the game shortly. We're just going to take a little bit of a break, give Kirk and myself a chance to take a short break and get the camera off us for a couple of minutes. But we will be back. We'll have Matt joining us again as he did at halftime. He'll be joining us, and we might, depending on reception, we might have 1 or 2 thoughts coming from the ground as well. So stay with us, and we will be back. We'll be back shortly.
We will. The stats are currently on the screen. 54% possession to West Ham, 46 to Bournemouth. Most of everything else went to that West Ham team. But like John just said, we'll have a quick break and then we'll come back to talk and review what happened. West Ham 2, Bournemouth 0. We'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to this live watch along on YouTube as we react to West Ham 2, Bournemouth 0. We've got Matt Davies backstage. Will be joining us very shortly. Thank you to everyone who's joined us for this game. Please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to Cherries Red Army. And look, we're going to get to your comments in the chat in just a moment. Let's get Matt Davies in the room and let's quickly have a look. Matt, we'll come to you in a moment. We'll have a look at that updated table because things have changed. West Ham have gone up to 10th in the Premier League. We have dropped one position to 14th, but we are still outside that relegation zone. What we'll do, Matt, what we'll do, John, we might get reaction from the stadium potentially. It depends what the signal's like. Aaron's currently there, and I'm sure he's frustrated. We'll break this game down. Look, Matt, summarise for first of all your instant reaction to West Ham 2, Bournemouth 0, and then we'll look at how that game unravelled.
Well, we've been done by the officials, haven't we? Let's be honest. That's a massive turning point. Whether we would have actually got anything out of the game, but for the decisions that have gone against us, is a different story entirely. If you're judging the performance on exactly what it was, and you're taking the officiating out of the game, then I don't think we did enough. And I don't know what you guys have been saying. I've only just come on, so come on again. So after watching it in my living room, so I don't know what you guys have been saying, but my view is that we had we were better second half, and the changes helped that. I think with Zamira coming on and adding that natural width down the left hand side and a bit more balance from an attacking point of view. He went to a back three, but then he takes Smith off. He was right footed playing left back, and then he puts Tavernier on the right hand side. He was left footed. And at times it's hard enough for Tav to be productive on his on the left side, on his left foot. Why he had to do that, I'm not really sure. But yeah, we did look better second half. Kiefer Moore gave us a focal point, but he needed bodies around. I thought Jadon Anthony was busy and did bits, but really we didn't do enough. I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen the stats, but I'm guessing that they still had more possession. I'm guessing they had a lot more shots off target and on target. So if we're talking from a stats viewpoint, their expected goals is going to come out considerably better than what ours did. So the upshot is, take the officiating out of it. Did we actually deserve to take anything from the game? And that's debatable, isn't it? So it's disappointing overall.
Let's go back to before kickoff then, John, because Gary O'Neill spoke in his press conference about his approach to football matches, that he's very much focused on the opposition, trying to nullify their threat. We saw an unchanged side. We'll show the lineups on the screen. And it was all about how we would set up, John, because would it be the same lineup and formation as Southampton, or would he have players on their correct sides? And that would be the case. So we were comfortable in what he had started with, and it was all about the approach then.
Yeah. We stuck with the same players, obviously returning to the formation that we started with against Fulham, which is great. Something I mentioned during the watch along is Gary O'Neill's use of Adam Smith as basically a centre back. Even when he's played at left back or right back, he doesn't go forward at all. He is essentially a third centre back. And in this particular formation, which I feel he's been happy to settle in, you have Tavernier is asked to do a hell of a lot. He's essentially asked to quite often play as the fifth man in that back line, come and defend as a left wing back. He didn't as much today. I think we did actually set up quite clearly as a 4-4-2, but he is required to do a lot of work to support Adam Smith if necessary. But then also he has to do a lot going forward as well. We as a team have seemingly limited ourselves in the entire season in playing a back three, regardless of whether we set up in a 5 or a 4, because Adam Smith never goes forward. So we basically have decided, right, either we don't attack down the left with a fullback, or we don't attack down the right with a fullback. So for the first 60 minutes, we didn't have a left back, and for the last half an hour, we didn't have a right back because Adam Smith was playing right back in that instance. So that's the worrying thing, in terms of it's preventing our creativity in a way of sort of flooding forward in the way that we used to, but we are using football, so it's a little bit different. But at least we were set up in a way that I think most Bournemouth fans would want us to be in, and there are certainly ways in which you can produce something, but as Matt was getting round to about how Tavernier went onto the right. He wasn't producing a lot on the left. I think he probably prefers to be on the right. I think we'd probably prefer him to be on the right for him to cut inside, although again, he's not really done too much that side either. Whereas Ryan Christie has a lot of experience on the left with Scotland, but I think Tavernier's put on the left because of all his work rate and because of how much he can do in both areas of the pitch, as opposed to Christie, who I think can also do that, but I think there's just more faith in Tav for some reason on that regard. But things could have been okay with that formation, and I think we did actually restrict them quite well with that formation for the most part, but we didn't get forward enough at all. And it didn't help that 43-ish minutes into the game, we lost our most important striker.
We did. And before we get to the VAR decision, I can see all your comments in the chat about VAR. Who knows what a handball is? We'll come to that in a moment. But Matt, as we look at Dom Solanke, who can become isolated in this type of approach that Gary O'Neill takes to football matches, he probably had our only real chance was a left foot shot, which he then actually got injured from and never recovered from. And we'll find out what that means for Dom Solanke in the next fixture in the next couple of days. But it's not very Bournemouth, is it? I mean, I know what Gary O'Neill's trying to achieve here, and he's come out in press conferences and said he knows what the club's about now. He's been here for 18 months, the togetherness, and he's saying all the right things, but this pragmatic approach of trying to not lose is not quite the Bournemouth way, although I understand it on the road at times.
Yeah, but as you've touched upon, and like Jon said, I mean, the fact that we've lost both our goalkeeper, who offers a lot of experience and has been, pretty solid for us in recent games. We lose our goalkeeper and we lose our top striker in the space of minutes, really, in the first half. It's bound to have an effect. I'm still trying to take that aside, really, and think, were we even doing enough? And I know it sounds negative, but were we doing enough really in the game, even with Neto in goal and Solanke up top? Probably not. But of course, it knocked us. It's bound to have an effect. And Gary O'Neill did what he could. And like I've said before many times, he has to strike that balance right at this level, doesn't he, between defence and attack? He has to keep us solid, and he has to keep us resolute in our own half. But when we're able to break out, we have to be clinical and we have to offer a threat, and we have to be a bit more sort of incisive and sharp in the final third when we're attacking. And that's just not happening at the moment. It's all breaking down. The balance is all wrong. Like Jon says, you've either got no natural left side or you've got no natural right side. He doesn't appear to want, two natural sides and offer that width that we need. When you play a 3-5-2, you want two wing backs bombing on. You want two wing backs that can get up and down like Jordan Zamura can, and probably like maybe Ryan Fredericks can, or Jack Stacey can on the right hand side. But he doesn't seem to want to go with that. Perhaps he feels that would leave us too open defensively, and he is trying to strike that balance. But he's not quite finding it, is he? And he has shown his inexperience. I felt he showed it massively against Southampton. I felt he got it all wrong tactically and from a formation viewpoint last Wednesday, changing it too often, players on their wrong foot on each flank. The substitutions were very questionable. He left substitutions too late. The nature of the subs that he was bringing on were questionable, and it showed his inexperience, which he is an inexperienced manager at this level. So you have to be tolerant of that. You have to be accepting of that. But at the same time, we've got new owners coming in who will expect us to be in the Premier League again next season, and I think come January, it signals the fact that there will be investment and there could be a change in management. And where that leaves Gary O'Neill, I don't know, because at the moment I only see us going in one direction. I don't think we've got the quality that is necessary quite to keep us in the Premier League. And Scott Parker, in a way, was right with that, but went about it all wrong. Gary O'Neill's come in. He steadied the ship. He showed faith in the players, belief in the players. He's backed them. And they've given him everything. Nobody's criticising the effort and the commitment that these players are giving. But we are just sadly lacking in quality, particularly in the final third. Like we've said, we just haven't got enough of it for me to be able to survive the season.
Right. The first goal in the game would come from a corner that would rebound around, sort of. We thought there might be a high foot from Suma. Then we thought there might be an offside from Suma coming from an offside position back into play. And then Suma gets on the end of the final ball to put it in the box. That wasn't the talking point, though, because as the replays unravelled, there was a huge handball in here. And as Matt put it, almost volleyball-like. Let's nail this. So I've not been able to watch this from a replay, from a commentary point of view, or listen to Sean Dyche as currently speaking on Sky Sports. This has probably not been given because VAR has looked at it and it's not in the phase of play that is as close to the goal point of that movement. Okay, because there's the handball, there's another phase, then there's the goal. If that led from the handball to the goal, that's for me cancelled out. This has all gone now, John, as I said earlier on, to a textbook of VAR deciding whether it's a penalty or not. As Matt's put it, and many others have put in here, what is a penalty? I've seen Dan Chase put in there that VAR is a joke. Morgan Scott doesn't understand it. It's a handball. I don't care what phase it's in. That's a handball.
I think, like we've said, and as I brought up earlier, I just can't be too confident about what the ruling is in a number of these situations. I think in that situation, I think if you look at it from some terms that have been described in previous instances, in previous iterations of the handball rule, because the handball rule has basically changed every season for the last few seasons. In previous instances, if an attacker handles the ball in any way whatsoever in the build-up to play, doesn't matter how close it is to his body, doesn't matter if it would have hit his chest otherwise, it's automatically ruled out. That was 2 years ago, and that's been changed because I think we all felt that was a bit ridiculous. But at the same time, then you find other instances where very minor things are happening, and then decisions are being given when no one's really claiming it. And yet in this instance, you have a ball coming to a player where I think if I look at it from Kara's point of view, because it is Kara that handballs it, I think he has got his hands very close to his chest. He's not intending to use his hands to influence it to try and get anything ruled out. But as he has his hands across his belly, when the ball comes towards him, whether he's trying to move his hands out of the way and he just sort of messes it up in his brain, his hands come out slightly towards the ball. And as soon as you make a motion towards the ball with your hands, then that should then be treated as a handball. Now, then we come to your point of it's not in that phase of play. What I'm frustrated at in instances like that is I would say that if the referee had spotted it in the instance, he would have just given it. It wouldn't have mattered about the phases of play because a handball is a handball. So I think that aspect of the rules, which I think you're correct on, and I think that I saw a comment by someone saying that is the reasoning for why that wasn't given. That may have been because just to behind the curtain, we haven't had the commentary on at all. We don't know what is being said by anyone on Sky Sports. Interesting you put that up. That
perfect timing as
well. That basically it's been by the rule book, it doesn't count. But unfortunately, I would say that in that instance, it's just another one of those times where the refereeing PGMOL probably look at that and go, oh, maybe the rule book needs a slight update because of that. And we've had that before with Bournemouth. If you remember, Adam
Smith.
No, I'm thinking of the there was a goal against Liverpool where I think it was Coutinho was about a mile offside, goes towards the ball, but it's not given against him, and it falls to Benteke, I think it was at the time, who smashes in the back of the net. And the day after, the PGMOL come out and say, we're very sorry, but according to the current rule book, that should have been ruled out as an offside because a player that was offside went towards the ball and it influenced the goalkeeper. We've got history of being in a position where either rules need adapting or rules haven't been implemented correctly against us. So, to be honest, I really am frustrated that performance is going to be hung up on by a lot of fans about the VAR decision, because I think outside of that VAR decision and outside of the one that I think was correct, that we will come to later, Bournemouth were nowhere near good enough today.
No.
And that is going to be somewhat overshadowed, and O'Neill is going to be able to overshadow a very poor performance overall, and a performance without much of a plan, by just being able to say that VAR once again has not been in our favour, which it hasn't. But I don't think Bournemouth were good enough to get a point out of this match.
No, we probably wasn't. We probably didn't deserve more. But where have we got to in the game, Matt? I mean, rule book, textbook, getting your head in a book, too many people in suits. Where is this beautiful game gone? I mean, I think we could accept these types of decisions of just about when there was no people reviewing it back with everything being slowed down. I mean, something's got to happen now. I feel like we're getting the brunt of it. I mean, I'm sure every team says that, but I really feel like we're getting the brunt of it. But this is getting absolutely ridiculous now. I mean, you've got Alan in the chat saying, it's volleyball. Well, it's not football, it's volleyball. It's got ridiculous. You said that.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, it's not ridiculous. It's getting embarrassing, I think, from a Premier League point of view. It is almost, and I'm not, I'll say it again. It's almost like, oh, we've got a vendetta against us. We're little old Bournemouth, and nobody wants us in the Premier League. And other fans of other clubs that are watching this will be like, oh, stop whinging. What are you talking about, Al? But that is how it is starting to feel because of the amount of decisions that are going against us. And you start to think that, this might be the case. This might very well be the case. And I've got a lot of mates, obviously I'm in chat groups and they're all saying the same thing. Get me out of the Premier League. I've had enough of this now. Get me out of here because I don't want to I don't enjoy it. Get me back to the Championship. Get me back to League One where it's more honest. There's more passion. Things are more on a level playing field. Human error comes into it, and that there's not this sort of supposed victimization where you've almost got to apologise for being on the same pitch as somebody like West Ham or Man City when you feel like they're part of the elite and you're just there to make up the numbers. I'm not for that. This is other people speaking. This is not what I'm saying. I want us to be the best that we can possibly be. I'm excited about the new ownership. I'm excited about the future, about the potential of building the training ground and building a new stadium or whatever happens there, making us a bigger and better football club and gaining more respect in the footballing world. That's what ultimately I want. But also, I want a fair and level playing field as well. And it's not. It doesn't feel like it is that at the moment. And that's the thing that angers me, is that it feels like every week we're getting these decisions go against us, and we're getting nothing go for us. Particularly when it comes to VAR and any type of contentious decision, mainly revolving around handball, is all going against us at the moment. We're not getting anything go for us, and that's where it feels unjust. And when you couple it with the fact that I mentioned again, we were relegated a couple of years ago on a goal line technology not working. This is when you start to think that is there a vendetta against us? Is it because we're little old Bournemouth? And I'm sure that's not the case. It's said in the heat of the moment, but it just feels like that, and it just feels unjust and unfair. And like John's rightly said, we probably didn't, and you've said, Kirk, we probably didn't deserve to take anything out of the game. And we have to look at ourselves outside of VAR, outside of officials and decisions that have gone against us. Let's look at ourselves as well and where our shortcomings are. I think we all know. But, it is what it is. You expect at least for the officials to, show fairness really and to put us on a level playing field. And it just doesn't feel like that at the moment. And that's what sort of gripes at you really and makes you feel bitter.
I would just say, talking about going back to Championship, maybe in League One, just remember how bad the referees were in Championship. Think about how bad they were in League One.
Exactly. So we'd all be moaning about that for a couple of years. We would all be saying, do you remember when we were in the Premier League and we were on our way to great things?
Getting screwed over by VAR. Wasn't that better than how bad the referees are in the Championship?
Away at Rochdale on a bogmire of a pitch. Is that really what we want? We've come so far.
Going well to get to the Championship.
League One or wherever it is,
Yeah.
We've come so far, haven't we?
So Gary O'Neill had to regroup the team in the second half. Probably looking back now, it was probably game over then because we were frustrated by that first goal. But he had to regroup us. He made changes in the second half. He got players on the pitch that we thought we might see in the previous game against Southampton. He got Jordan Zamora. He got Jaden Anthony in the game. Keith Moore had already come on for Dom Solanke. Look, we look pretty good when Jordan Zamora and Jaden Anthony come on, and they're not completely fresh because they've not had a lot of football recently. But are you frustrated that these type of players are not playing from the start? We know that Gary O'Neill's setting the team up to deal with the opposition, but as I said to John in the watch along, I don't think we're really going to put ourselves in trouble if we do play the likes of Jordan Zamora left and Jaden Anthony. I mean, Jordan Zamora, from a statistical point of view, is not as bad as defending as people think, but yeah, I mean, we haven't got the pace really in the team. I think we've spoken about that. And if we've got any threat, it is probably down that left-hand side with them two playing. And that was probably where the threat was going to come from. But we just couldn't get in the final third and we couldn't get a decent ball into Keith Moore.
No, and that's what we said it at half time, didn't I? I said it. It's screaming out for Jordan Zamir and Jayden Anthony, because what it offers as well, it brings Phil Billing into the game, doesn't it? Because you've got that sort of three-way pivot down the left-hand side, and it opens things up on the left. But you're hoping that that they'll be similar on the right-hand side, so that we can attack the flanks. And if we're going to play that formation, then he's going to do something similar on the right. But he seems to not want to do that. But yeah, they probably should have played from the start. Maybe whether that would have made a difference over the 90 minutes, who knows? But I think they probably deserve that opportunity. Ryan Fredericks for me was blowing after about 20 minutes, huffing and puffing, and he looked knackered after 20 minutes in. I know he was getting through quite a bit of work on the right hand flank, but certainly didn't look 100% at it really, and maybe hasn't done it at spells when he's come in the team lately. So I don't know. Jordan Zamir has not done a lot wrong for me. I think he's been decent, and Jayden Anthony as well, as when called upon, has come up with a goal or two, hasn't he? And he's had an impact in games. And I just feel that that's what we're lacking in that final third. You just feel with Christie and Tavernier that they're, like we said at half time, they're going to run around a lot, and they're going to give everything, and they're going to track back, and they're going to run around in circles. And in the 30 yards from goal, they're going to play little neat passes now and again, but it's all going to break down when we get to the penalty box, and they're not going to have the quality to be able to thread a ball through or pick a pass or put the ball in the back of the net. And that's sadly the case at the moment. And you just feel with Jayden Anthony and even Dembele up to a point. I know he come on the other night and, he tried, didn't set the world alight. He didn't have enough time probably on Wednesday night to make too much of an impact, but he has got that something about him, that bit of spark, that bit of pace where he can beat a man, put a ball in the box. Kiefer Moore, the amount of time second half that Kiefer Moore was crying out for a ball. I know we were lumping it towards him towards the end, but there was times where we got into positions where the ball should have come into the box sooner, and we didn't always use Kiefer to his strength second half and get enough runners around him that we should have, and enough balls into the box. So there's a lot to work on, a lot to think about for Gary O'Neill, and not a lot of time to do it really, because we're running out of games now before the World Cup. And I've always said it. I think we need to keep ourselves out of that bottom three going into the World Cup before we can sort of change things in January, be it a managerial change or a personnel change on the pitch. We need to try and avoid dropping into that bottom three really, and getting too far adrift. And Leeds away, Everton home, Tottenham home. It's going to be difficult. How many points? I mean, I'd settle for 3 or 4 points from those 3 games, which might just be enough to do it. But it's tough. It's looking tough at the moment. It's looking a challenge.
John, let's close out this match reaction from the match point of view, because I've got a really important question that I want to ask you and Matt at the end of this review. It was West Ham 2, Bournemouth 0 in the end, and that was because of another VAR decision, which was to give a penalty to West Ham for a handball through Jordan Zamora. This one was a penalty, and that's where VAR should work. I think we can all agree with that. There was a comment higher up, which I sort of said, does his arms go up that because of the way he's sliding? And you've said that they just need to learn to slide without putting their arms up in the air. But I suppose it's a natural reaction because you're trying to balance yourself or you're trying to do something with your body. So that's why his arms are up there. Yeah. But you don't get away with it. You get a penalty given against you. And that's where on the training ground and all the experts they have around the team need to try and train these players to keep their arms behind their back, keep their arms down. Yeah.
And what I would say is Jordan Zamora is still quite young. I mean, he's 23 now, and he hasn't played a lot of professional football as much as he did get a whole season with Bournemouth, basically last year. He's trying to run back. He's pushed forward to help us try and get a goal. He is the furthest forward of the 4 defenders, and he's running back to try and help deal with us losing the ball and getting counted on. And look, yes, I think someone, I saw the comment before, it's like, where's he supposed to put his hands? It's like that. This is not one of those situations. You can't say where is he supposed to put his hands when he could put them literally anywhere as long as they're not up like that. That one's a penalty. That's one's a penalty every day of the week. The referee should have seen it, to be honest. I thought the referee should have just noticed that before that was given by VAR. And in those situations, we've seen for half a decade players keep their arms behind their backs when they're going to try and block crosses. How long ago was it when we were looking at Spanish defenders in the Champions League and going, look at him, he's keeping his arms behind his back. What's he doing? And now, like, if you don't do that, you're a blimmin' idiot. Yeah, that's a penalty, and I've got no qualms at all with that. And I don't blame Jay-Z for trying to get in and block it. And we're already, that doesn't change the result. He'd already lost 1-0, so losing 2-0 is frustrating, but it's nothing.
I think the other thing, John, was his body language and his facial expression said it all, didn't it, Jordan Zamora? As soon as it happened, I thought, oh no, that's going to be pulled back. That's going to be a penalty. And you looked at Zamora on camera and you thought, he's not exactly inconspicuous, is he? Here, he's got a face so guilty. He knows it's going to be given, and they are.
Yeah, I'd see Alan saying, "Didn't he touch his arm?" I see a few comments from you before, Alan. Alan, you need to just look at it again. It's one of the most blatant handballs this season. I mean, this is a Bournemouth fan channel. This is a Bournemouth fan giving it against. It's a blatant penalty, and unfortunately. That one is one I cannot have any arguments with, and no Bournemouth fan, if they're honest with themselves, should be arguing against that penalty. The previous one, the one with Kaye, we're all annoyed at, but that one, unfortunately, and I don't blame Jon Zamora at all for it. It's just a shame that he has worked really hard to get back in there, and his arm's gone up, and it's just something that he's going to have to learn. It's one of those mistakes that you make once, and hopefully you never make again. But it doesn't change. It touches his arm, Alan. Handball does not require it to hit his hand. But yeah, it's just a shame. It's a loss. We'll come on to sort of what this means for us in the season shortly. But for now, look, 2-0 loss, not the end of the world. We're a little bit. I'm certainly frustrated that we just aren't showing. We aren't showing enough of our game in matches at the moment. At the moment, we've got the worst XG going forward in the league. And if you watch our matches, we have done well to make the most of the small amount of chances that we've been creating. But at the moment, we need to find a better way of going forward, because we looked at our most dangerous in that game with a combinations of Zamora and Anthony on the left-hand side, and Anthony doing what neither Christie nor Tavernier want to do from the left-hand side, and doing what Stanislas did really well for us in the Tyndall and Woodgate years, is starting left and peeling into the middle and finding himself in pockets of space in the middle of the pitch and able to influence the match. And it's not something that Tavernier or Christie are going to do from that left-hand side. And O'Neill needs to try and find something different to help us get forward in matches, because, XG in that game, and bear in mind West Ham only produced 4 shots on target and we produced 3. And I can remember all 4 of West Ham's shots on target. One of them was really long range with Tavernier's easy save. You've got the 2 goals, and the other one was Cresswell's shot from range, which Neto didn't need to do much to save. So in the end of the day, 16 shots were off target or blocked. Mepa was fantastic at blocking shots today. West Ham didn't make that much, but in the important moments, they were able to create chances, which admittedly, were very debatable on the first one, and the second one probably doesn't happen if the first one isn't given. On the other hand, Bournemouth's XG was 0.37. We didn't make any significant chances at all, and that is the major worry at the moment, is that we're not making chances. And if that continues, we will have no chance of staying up. We're only 4 points above the relegation zone now. We've had a good run of thick games, but something needs to change just to give us something going forward. And that's just the worry at the moment.
We're going to close out this review. It's been a tough watch along. It's been a tough night. We've learnt some more. Gary O'Neill's learnt some more. Look, Matt, I've got one question, because it was West Ham 2, Bournemouth 0. Ben Rama put that penalty away. Another penalty that Travers has not saved in his career. Something he needs to try and improve on. But it's not an easy task for a goalkeeper to stop penalties. Matt, look, I said a few weeks ago that if we can pick up points, we stay as we are, we get this takeover done. Gary O'Neill ticks off game by game. We get to the World Cup, and then we definitely need a new manager. I've said from day dot, when we won, when we drew, when we lost, this is not the job for Gary O'Neill, especially with a 1.2 billion owner coming in who's going to put even more pressure on the next manager. Question for you, Matt. 3 games of Premier League football and 1 cup game. can we get to that World Cup with Gary O'Neill still in charge? Because I feel like at the start, it was almost like there was no pressure on him and we were picking up points and we were scoring goals. And as every game ticks off, I feel like he's putting even pressure on himself now. And we're really not looking like scoring lately.
It's a concern. I think the turning point, unfortunately, was last Wednesday night. And it was always my fear that this game against Southampton, I was impressed with the build-up that with the club. They didn't put too much emphasis on it being a local derby and, us caring about it more than them and, getting all het up about it like we all have in the past. And, Southampton not really caring too much, turning up and turning us over like they have before. And my worry was that it would kickstart Southampton's season and we would hit the buffers with a defeat. And that's how it proved. It was so frustrating, but in many ways so predictable. We got it wrong on the night, tactically, formation-wise. Everything really. The crowd was flat. It all went wrong on the night for us, as it generally tends to do, or has a lot of times in the past against them lot. It kickstarts them, and we hit the buffers. And the worry is now that we've been beaten again tonight. We've not scored a goal again. We seem to be on a downward spiral again. And I hope that Gary can dig in and pick the players back up again, and we can respond. I don't think, Kirk, that he'll change it. I think he's only got 3 games until three Premier League games until the World Cup now. So I can't see the ownership being ratified by the Premier League in time for too much change to be made before the World Cup starts. And then you'd be the end of December before we play again. So I think it's O'Neill's for the next 3 games. And I think if he gets 3 or 4 points from those 3 games, then that's a win. That's a good return, because that'll probably keep us out of the bottom 3. Bill Foley then comes in, the World Cup comes along, and you think, right, we're out the bottom 3. We've got a real opportunity now to kick on, to make some investment in January, bring some players in and get a manager in place. Who that is, by the way, I'm still not sure about. When you look at the list of who's out there and who realistically we can attract, I'm not sure who takes the job, who's right for it. But hopefully the board do, and hopefully they have got a plan in mind. And we've been here before, haven't we? When we seem to have one with Scott Parker, and that's backfired now, that's gone. But hopefully we get a strong owner in place with a plan, with money, with investment, who's got a plan in mind, and a manager and personnel coming in, investment coming in that can take us forward and can keep us safe in the second half of the season. And the way I see it, Kirk, is it's 3 games for O'Neill, and it's tick them off, get as many points on the board as you can. 3 or 4 points for me would be a great result. Keep us out of that bottom 3 going into the World Cup.
Matt, it's been good to get your thoughts in this latest watch along, in this match reaction. We'll catch up soon. Might see you for a match preview of Tottenham. We haven't set the lineup up yet, but you might be involved in that one.
Pleasure, Kirk, as always. Well, great stuff, boys. It's a hard task to do what you've done for the last goodness knows how many hours. So really, hats off to you, kudos to you, because you've done a sterling job, and I'm sure everybody is appreciative of it, because a lot goes into it, doesn't it, John and Kirk? And you don't have to do it, and you put a lot of effort in, and hopefully everybody's enjoyed it. We're all Bournemouth fans, or most of us, watching at the end of the day, and we love to see it. We love to see you go and putting the effort in like you did, and we love your opinions, and great stuff. So well done, lads.
Cheers,
Matt. We'll
Thanks,
catch
Matt.
you soon.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, John. It's been a tough night. It's been a tough stream. We've enjoyed spending time with you, though. Weirdly, we always enjoy these streams with yourself. Look, let's close out where we are right now, because the new board will be speaking to the current board. I know they're waiting for that ratification from the Premier League, but Bill Foley is in constant conversation with the club. I'm sure of that. We're almost back to square one before that Aston Villa game, aren't we? Where we're almost like, where do we get our first point? Where do we win our first match? We are probably in quite low confidence now. Haven't scored in 2 games. Don't look like scoring. Tottenham next. I mean, they're out of form a little bit as well. They've lost their last 2 football matches. But we need a spark from somewhere. We're not getting any helping hand from VAR. Does Gary O'Neill keep this gig until the World Cup? Because there's 9 points up for grabs.
They need a spark, do you say?
They need a spark.
I'm sat right here.
Need a spark.
No. Look, I brought up several weeks ago that I was worried about our creativity. And before this game, they did show up on Monday Night Football that our expected goals is 20th best in the league. It's the worst. It's the worst one in the league. We aren't producing enough going forward, and it's games like tonight where, admittedly, we did lose Solanke towards the end of the first half, but I didn't really see much of a plan. I said that we would probably sit back and try and catch them on the counter. For long periods, we were sat very far back, but too far back, and we didn't do enough. We never looked like creating anything on the counter attack. Then, when we had the ball in deep, and West Ham were incredibly willing to, were very willing to just let us have the ball deep. They didn't look to try and press us that high. We didn't really look like doing anything when we were able to just go, right, we've got the ball at the back. What's our plan to get it into their box?
Yeah. And
I couldn't really see it.
No.
So O'Neill is pragmatic. He's clearly liked by the players. He has the support of the players. But I think after Parker, I don't think it would have been too hard to have the support of the players for someone that says, no, these players are good enough. I think that was enough to get the support. Bournemouth are a team that have a first 11 that is probably just about good enough to stay up. Past that, there's not a lot of depth. And losing Solanke, our entire attack is essentially built around Solanke. So losing him and having to play with Kiefer Moore instead, it's not that you can't produce a plan with Kiefer Moore, but you have to set up differently. We now have to set up. We have to play differently with Kiefer Moore up top instead of Solanke. So O'Neill has to produce a new plan of attack. I think he needs to just get players around more. Because you play it up to him long. We now can just play it long. We can play long ball basically for the next few games. Play it up to Moore. Get 3 players near him. And just pick up the knockdowns. We have to get. He's pragmatic. He needs to get pragmatic, and play slightly differently, non-Bournemouth style, but something that gets us some chances. Because we didn't do enough at all in that game, attacking wise. Nothing to say that West Ham aren't a really good side and we were going to struggle anyway, because we were, but we just didn't do anything at all really. On the flip side to that, defensively, the XG against us was high in that game, 1.87, I believe. 0.77 of that would have been the penalty.
Yeah.
But I mentioned to you, outside of that, 3 shots on target outside the penalty, one of which was from a debatable decision. The other 2 were from long shots. So we actually set up really well defensively. I did mention before, not many fans would like to admit it, but Parker has given us a good base defensively.
You mentioned it twice.
So that's the second time I mentioned it. You're going to clip them out both times of when this goes up. But look, we're in a decent position defensively. We need to do more going forward. We've lost our best attacking output, so we've got to try and change things up now. Once we get to January, that's when we need a new manager and we need new investment. And hopefully we can rely on that coming in and producing the new training ground, the plans for the pit, the plans for some extension of the ground, and then with more money being invested, we'll be on our way. For now, we've got to rely on Mr. Pragmatic to keep us getting any points he can in the last 3 games, and maybe even a bit more of a cup run. You never know.
You never know. Both teams on Saturday will go into the game, Bournemouth-Tottenham, needing a win or getting something, because both teams are in a bit of poor form, should we say. Paul Horry on the way home from the game. Refs in this league are a joke, and VAR as well. To add to that, Paul, look, please do check out our sponsors, Aquashine Exteriors. Their details are in the description below. If you're local to Bournemouth, Poole, Christchurch, Southampton, Hampshire, they do some great work for your external guttering, roofing, driveways. Check them out. Details are in the description below. Also, thank you to our monthly members for contributing massively to the channel so we can do these live watch-alongs. You can become a member or donate at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army, just behind that banner and also in the description below. John, it's a loss, but I've enjoyed the evening. We've been able to interact with the fans, and we go again. And we're at home, and we just need to show something more on Saturday. But look, thanks for joining me. Look, both in the same room, watch along. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot more fun being in the same room. I have to say, I have, despite the game, it's not been as bad as the Southampton game. I think I'll say on that one, and it has been quite enjoyable. Thank you for everyone joining in. Thanks for the interactions. Thanks for sticking with us. Please don't forget to like the video. And if you are new to the channel, if you haven't seen us before, and you found our opinions worthy of any note whatsoever, we would appreciate a subscription, because the more we get of those, the more popular we're hoping to be, and the more content we want to get out to you guys. So thank you very much for staying involved. Thank you, Kirk, for having me around and getting me into your lovely home, and allowing me to sit down and watch the football with you. So hopefully can do that again before the end of the season, and hopefully we'll still be outside the relegation zone the next time I do come down and we do that.
Weirdly, even after a Bournemouth loss, I've enjoyed it. Thank you to you, the fans, for joining us. As Jon said, do hit that like button, subscribe, and if you watch this back, you couldn't join us, do let us know your thoughts in the comments. We will have a match preview that will be going out on YouTube. Check our socials for Thursday, 8 p.m, Bournemouth versus Tottenham. We'll have all the usual content. We'll take a look at the build-up. We'll review this game, Tottenham's game. We'll have an opposition guest, and we'll get your match predictions. So make sure you get involved. Tonight, though, we've had our guest, Matt, also joining us throughout the stream. Me and Jon. The Hammers beat the Cherries 2-0, but not with. They needed a massive helping hand from VAR. We'll see you on the next one from this watch along. We'll see you soon. Up the Cherries.
Up the Cherries.